All right, guys, episode 101. Wow, I get to start off with 100 now. This podcast, this episode, you guys, is why I wanted to get into podcasting to begin with. Like this kind of conversation. This is the kind of episode, is like a defining kind of episode of the podcast. I mean, we talk Bigfoot, aliens, simulation theory. I mean, it's wonderful. Ghosts. They said they're going to take me on. Jason. It was Jason from KC Paracon. It's a paranormal conference that he's putting on here in Kansas City. We get all involved with that. We talk all about it. He has a podcast. We talk about that. It's like the ectoplasma podcast, I think. Follow him on KC Paracon on Instagram. Listen to this episode. This was so much fun. You guys are really going to like this. I got nothing more to say. Thank you guys for listening. Tell a friend, download, subscribe. Help me with these numbers. Let's just keep growing this thing, especially during this time of craziness in 2020. We got positivity. We got entertainment. Let's stick with some of this from time to time. Tell a friend about the show. If not, enjoy it at least. I don't know. I'm just babbling. Jason from KC Paracon. This was a lot of fun. Here we go. Episode 1.
Welcome to the Inner Talk Podcast. We'll no topic is off limits. Now here's your host, Mind Daddy, and Void of Soul. Thank you for coming to the Inner Talk Podcast. Boom, swat, boom.
3, 2, 1. Here we go. Jason?
Yeah.
From, oh crap. Paracon.
Yes.
There it is.
That's right.
Paracon.
The KC Paracon.
KC Paracon.
Yeah.
Tell people what the hell that is.
It's a paranormal conference.
Paranormal conference.
And I bring in speakers from around the country and local to talk about all kinds of different paranormal stuff, from ghosts to UFO to Bigfoot to anything you could think of. There's even a few conspiracy guys in there. Even though I enjoy that stuff, sometimes it's hard to plug it into this kind of event. But it's mostly ghost hunters and UFO researchers and stuff like that.
A lot of good UFO stuff in the news right now.
Yeah, there is. And I question all of it, honestly.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think there's an agenda behind it.
Okay, what would that agenda be?
I think the agenda, well, I don't know if I can like say I know what their agenda is. But I have always been of the mind that our government, whoever the powers might be, wouldn't tell us about UFOs unless they had something to gain from it.
Okay.
Because it makes them look bad, right? If they're not in control of our skies, it makes them look like they're not in control, which would make the people see the government as not in control.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of questioned their Pentagon release of the UFO film.
Any particular ones that you're thinking of, or like kind of all of them lately, like from the Tic Tac ones to like the 8 UFOs that they just released? I mean, this stuff is a few years old, but from the Freedom of Information Act, it's now available to us.
Well, and so a couple of the ones that Tom DeLonge released,
right?
Technically they lied to the government to obtain those.
Yeah,
and
Tom
wasn't
DeLonge's
going
kind of
to
a
release
goofy,
those.
got some
But
goofy shit out there.
I'm specifically talking about the ones that the Pentagon acknowledged.
Okay, were those the Tic Tac ones?
Yeah, and I questioned their, I questioned their reasoning for acknowledging them. Why would they do it?
Because the Freedom of Information Act they had to release that info, and once we saw the video, and then was it Commander Faber?
Yeah, but I understand but
yeah. So you don't think they were like, our hands are tied? We had to release it.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say either way.
Yeah.
I think that being in the field myself,
mm-hmm.
I hear about it a lot more than, and I've studied it for so long that's maybe why I'm questioning it.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think that there's a motive behind acknowledging it.
I think so too. I think it is kind of crazy. It is crazy that they are acknowledging it. I'll give you that. It
Mhm.
blew me away when the Air or the Navy or the Pentagon said, "Yeah,
Yeah.
these are what UFPs, or
Mhm.
is that what they're calling them now?"
The fact
Yeah,
that they investigated it, that's never been shocking to me because I've always seen it as, of course, they have to be investigating things flying around the sky that they don't know what it is. If they weren't, then they would be failing at their national defense. So that part has never, like the announcing that they're investigating these things has never shocked me. It's more of acknowledging that they've actually captured some stuff.
yeah, that blew me away too that they actually admitted it. Do you think it could be a slow integration, like a slow? They give us little piece by piece, so they don't drop the hammer and freak everybody out.
That's definitely an argument, and that's definitely a theory that's been out there for quite a while, even going back to like Independence Day movies and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess it
Um,
would have started
Yeah.
a long time ago, and it's just now
And-
ramping up, or
yeah.
we're getting more.
I think that, so another thing that I think that I'm not shocked by, I think is necessary, but I think is part of this is the announcement and the actual official release or launch of Space Force. Because even going back to like Clinton and before, each president had talked about starting a Space Force. And as silly as it sounds, there's actual need for it.
Oh, I agree.
But I think that, I don't know, the timing of everything is kind of, it's just suspicious to me.
Okay,
But I do have a suspicious nature. So
well, that's good.
yeah.
I mean, you should question this stuff. I mean, you
Mhm.
can't just, especially when it involves the government, just take them at their word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even Reagan was talking about aliens.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's just so, and it's also, I don't, maybe that they put it out there to try to take people's mind off of COVID for a week, but it didn't work.
yeah, but they were talking
It's
about
kinda-
it. It was getting before COVID hit. They were.
No, I
getting,
know that, but
yeah.
the official Pentagon announcement or the declaration or whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it, that it was something that they didn't know what it was, happened, and then it was just kind of like, well, the general public's still focused on other stuff.
Do you believe in UFOs yourself?
I've seen UFOs.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, actually my very first experience in anything paranormal was a UFO. Now I want to preface my talk on UFOs that I don't necessarily see them as alien. That's something that gets tied together, and for good reason.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a completely different thing between UFOs and UFOs with aliens. In my mind, that's how I view it.
I like it.
So when I was like 7 years old, I saw this little, it looked like a star. It was down in the Ozarks, and it was zipping around the sky. And to this day, I can't think of any technology that I know of that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that they don't have the technology? They could. So it might not be aliens, but that's what started my interest in all of this
Was
all
that
those years
was
ago.
that the only one that you've seen?
I've seen a pyramid-shaped UFO in Colorado when I was 18. And it was probably, I was hiking in the mountains, and it was probably 10 plus miles away. And I was on the side of a mountain, and I watched it move across the sky. It was kind of spinning, and it just went to the point where I couldn't see it anymore.
How big was it? Like you,
It's hard to judge because I couldn't tell exactly how far away it was, but it was
but you got a
it
good.
was a good distance, and I could tell that it was a pyramid. It was kind of like a reflective, almost rainbow giving off of it from the sunlight.
when you see these things and you tell people about it, do people usually believe you, or like what kind of reaction do you get when you talk about your sightings that you've seen?
That's a very hard thing, because even being in the paranormal field, I'm one of the types that I question even my own experiences, so I question everybody's experience. Like, so my podcast partner, he's had a lot of crazy like ghost experiences. I've had a few too, and I trust him when he tells me because I trust the person.
Okay,
But just reading somebody's story,
sure.
it's hard to trust that source. Do I think that people have reasons to lie about paranormal things? Sure. But when I talk to somebody about my paranormal experiences, I don't necessarily I would trust Larry over here to believe me because I'm good friends with him. But you, it doesn't really matter to me if you believe me or not.
That's
is
good.
another thing, because if you're in this field long enough, you have to grow a thick skin,
I would imagine
or you're
so,
gonna
yeah.
just drive yourself crazy,
Right.
or give up.
Right.
So
Yeah. So do. I've never seen a UFO. I want to.
yeah,
The closest thing I think I saw was maybe 2 years ago. It was early in the morning. I saw something just falling from the sky, but I don't know. It could have been anything. I didn't see anything weird.
yeah.
And I've always, I'm a bow hunter, and
Oh yeah.
I like camping and hunting, and I like going out where there's nobody in the middle of
Mhm.
nowhere.
I'm the same way.
And I love that 'cause there's no light pollution out
Yeah.
there. You just get lost in the Milky Way. I love it.
In fact, I've been an archer since I was 5.
Oh wow.
But
cool.
I haven't done it in quite a while. But my other passion in life is the outdoors, so I kind of meld the two at times for my own. But UFO sightings are up too around the world. There's been a lot
Right.
more reported in the last few months than before, so maybe now's the time to get out there. Start looking.
I'm always out there looking. Every time I go out there, I look. I want to see something.
Yeah.
I
Now,
don't
as an
know.
outdoorsman, what do you think about Bigfoot?
I don't think so. I
No?
don't. I want to believe, but it just.
Even Les Stroud has had a Bigfoot experience.
Yeah, he's had a couple, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And he is kind of the one source that I might take serious, I guess.
Yeah.
But now he doesn't he have a Bigfoot show now or something?
He does.
Okay.
I actually don't. Honestly, I don't watch a lot of those shows, any
Mhm.
paranormal shows these days. I've kind of moved away from them. But
yeah, smart probably.
the thing about, so if, let's say, for example, you're out in the woods hunting,
Mm-hmm.
you see something, and you see a Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
You go and you go in, start telling people your story, and they said, "Oh, you just saw a bear,"
Mm-hmm.
because that's what most people say people see when they see a bear. But as a hunter, if you spend any time out in the same kind of land, you know the animals out there, you know what's out there. So unless you're having some kind of hallucinatory experience, do you think you can mistake a bear for a Bigfoot, or a deer for a Bigfoot?
I think so.
You think so?
I do think it is quite possible. Number one, if it's far, bears have been known to walk on their hind legs.
Yeah.
There was Pedals, the bear in New Jersey, that had
Mm-hmm.
injured something, and so he'd walk on his hind quarters a lot.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see people seeing, like, maybe it's dusk or dawn.
Yeah,
And
but
you
those
see-
are other factors, not just like,
If-
let's say 10 o'clock
Okay.
in the morning, sun's coming down, and it's only 25, 35 yards from you.
Well, I'm shooting it. If it's Bigfoot, I'm shooting it.
Yeah, and there's actually plenty of stories of that, but the bullet just passes right through.
Of course it does. I've also, like I said, I'm a bow hunter. I'll hunt during the rut, which
Mhm.
for a lot of the people out there listening, that's like an all-day hunt. You never know when a deer during the rut could cross your path. A lot of times hunting normally is good in the morning and the evening, but during the rut, it can be any time of the day. So those are times where I will hunt from an hour before the sun rises to, an hour after the sun sets. That's all day.
Yeah,
You get a little tired, you get a little,
true.
and if you're looking at something that you can look at a squirrel and think it's a deer. You just get, especially if you're
I
looking through a
understand
scope or
that.
binoculars, and
Yeah.
your mind will play tricks
Well,
on
there's
you.
plenty of stories of people getting shot because they
Exactly.
thought they were a deer.
Exactly.
And I completely understand that. And I've never had a Bigfoot experience, and I'm actually more of the mindset of you that they aren't necessarily like some mammal out there that we just haven't discovered yet. I think that if there is a Bigfoot type creature out there, it maybe has some metaphysical traits where it
Okay.
can decide when it wants to be seen or not.
Okay.
And maybe it's not so. And I don't think that you go out to the woods in the Ozark and you're going to find a Bigfoot. I think that if there's any like subset species of a Bigfoot there in places like northern Canada where there isn't people for 100 miles, I think that that's a high possibility. Well, if Bigfoot is real, the probability is there that it'd be there.
Okay, not the Pacific Northwest, as dense as the forest is there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sightings up there.
Right.
The thing about all paranormal things and how I view it is, it only takes one to be real, a real thing. You know, if 100 people say they see Bigfoot and one person really had an experience, then it's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think my viewpoint, and I don't know if it's come off yet, is everything's possible, but it all could just be in my head too.
Okay.
So I try to keep myself open to all possibilities, but also then realize that it might not be real too.
Okay.
It's hard to explain. It's something that I've honed over the years because I'm a ghost hunter too. And when I try to go into a place to ghost hunt, I kind of go in with that mindset so that I'm not limiting anything. And it actually pisses off my podcast partner because he always asks my opinion on things, and all I have to say is I think it might be real.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, touching on the Bigfoot thing, like a couple factors of why I don't believe is assuming it's not a metaphysical creature, that it is like a real mammal.
Yeah.
Is number one, game cameras. You know, the
Yeah.
trail cams.
Mhm.
They're everywhere now.
that's true.
We haven't caught one. They're everywhere. It's hard to hide from those.
Yeah.
And then also, Florida had the Florida panther.
Yes.
It was going extinct.
Mhm.
There was like less than 100. I think there's less than 50 of them left.
Yeah.
And 3 of them got hit by a car.
Yeah.
It was a big state for only
Mhm.
50 animals, and 3 of them get hit by a car.
Yeah.
Well, I just would think Bigfoot would have been hit by a car or something, or
That's true.
I
Yeah.
don't know. So it's
I know that people in Bigfoot costumes have been hit by cars.
Oh yeah,
and shot
that
at
is
and
true.
stuff. That's happened.
Yes,
So
that has happened.
I actually tend to agree with you in my own personal viewpoints on
Mhm.
this stuff, but when I talk about it with people, I try to include other people's viewpoint, like the spectrum in the field.
Mhm.
So there's people out there, and I've met both sides. There's people out there that would say that there's Bigfoot in every little like section of trees.
Right.
And then there's people that just say, well, there's some kind of genetic anomaly that lives in a small dense patch somewhere that that people haven't been to before.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're aliens. There's a big but there's a big subset of UFO sightings that also tie in with Bigfoot sightings at the same time.
How convenient.
Yeah. There's actually stories of people witnessing Bigfoots being lowered from UFOs.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go as any crazy idea you can think of, it's already out there in the field.
Exactly. Yeah, I imagine. I want it to be real.
Yeah.
I just don't think some of these things are real. Just lack of evidence, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
I would think some of the stuff there would just be something. I know Jane Goodall, like for a while I was really like, okay, it's pretty possible, because Jane Goodall, she said that she believes in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe his like Australopithecus or something, but maybe theorize that maybe that's what it is. Maybe there's still an ancient hominid like that still roaming, but
Bigfoot is a hard one. And it's actually, I've never had a personal Bigfoot experience. I've met a few people.
Native Americans
had them
believed in it.
local.
They
Oh,
wrote
yeah.
about it. They drew
Mhm.
about it.
Yeah.
A lot of places were named after the different names they had for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That one I don't see. I don't see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it might be more, if I had to try to rate the idea of what might be more probable, I think that maybe an undiscovered species of mammal like a type of Bigfoot might be more probable than aliens having to travel faster than the speed of light to actually make it here.
If that's how you think they travel.
I mean, that's true. I mean, they probably
yeah,
travel in some means that we can't even think of. So
I think we can think of it. I just don't know that we know how to.
I don't even
How
know
to-
if we could think of it. I mean,
Sure.
we're looking at it from a human perspective.
There's scientists that are saying like, so I don't know what it's called, but like where you take a piece of paper and fold it and then poke a hole,
Yeah.
whatever that.
Folding space-time.
There you go, something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
but there could be other things that we can't even think of.
no, a guest a few weeks ago did bring up aliens for a brief minute, and I don't subscribe to simulation theory, but I like it a lot.
I heard you mention simulation theory on an episode.
I like it a lot. I
Yeah.
like simulation theory a lot. Mathematicists say that it's more likely that we're in one than we're not in one.
That is true.
And so he was bringing up the UFOs, the little tic tac moving all zipping around, and you can do that on your computer with a mouse. Do.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're in a simulation, perhaps that's some kind of like the mouse got through. It broke code somehow. There was a glitch, and that was I don't know. Maybe that's I don't know, but
I actually agree with you. I think
really.
I think that well,
nice.
I think that so you could put it down as simulation theory, but honestly, if I had to be, if I had to give a theory that I thought was real right now, just like to be pigeonholed into that, it would be something similar to that. I think that most of what we experience in the paranormal field, no matter what it is, comes from the same mechanism. It's crossing over somehow, even if it's just a glitch, like in a system, like a matrix or a computer system. So even though it's all, almost every paranormal experience is a bit different, I think that they probably all come from the same source.
Yeah.
And paranormal, simulation theory would be the same kind of explanation, except for it's not necessarily, doesn't have to be in a simulation. It could just be that we have all these planes of existence and somehow some glitch over every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I kind of, if I'm going to think that these things are quote unquote real, it would have to be in some kind of simulation, but a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people don't like simulation theory. I don't know if,
I'll take simulation theory one little step farther that I think that could be a possibility, because they don't actually know. It hasn't actually ever been proven exactly where our consciousness comes from. They say that, they figure that it originates in the brain, but they can't actually figure out the mechanism for it. I wouldn't be surprised if our brain is a receiver for our consciousness from another
It is
part of a system.
It is.
And this is just like our meat suit.
It is. I'm going to say that emphatically, like I absolutely know.
Yeah. And if that's the case, then anything we experience is just part of the simulation.
It's really interesting you brought that up. My whole conscious thinking life has always had a struggle with what consciousness is. I've always struggled with what does it mean to be conscious? Because, ever since I was a little kid, I've realized, like, I'm alive. But I'm like, what does that mean? Like, sometimes I feel like I'm... I don't even know how to put it into words.
I've thought of that before, so I can empathize with how you're feeling, but I can't describe it either.
Yeah, it's like I'm alive, but what the hell does alive mean? What am I? Like, it's just a weird... Whatever. So I've just struggled with what is consciousness. I'm going to phrase this so nobody gets in trouble, but have you ever dabbled in any kind of psychedelics?
I haven't, but I'm actually planning a documentary with my podcast partner to do that. And I can't say I've never done it. I've done acid when I was younger and stuff like that, but it wasn't to figure out any paranormal metaphysical shit. It was just,
Okay. What are you planning on doing? We've
talked about DMT, ayahuasca, and a few others.
Okay. For the record, the statute of limitations is up on this. I have done DMT, and before it's suggested before you go into doing something like that, have a question
Mm-hmm.
on what you want to ask the DMT more
Yeah.
or less.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to know what consciousness is.
Yeah.
I just want, what is consciousness? Go ahead. And so I did it, and I got the answer of what consciousness is. It's hard to explain, and the best explanation I can come up with it is almost omnipotence.
Yeah.
It's like you're everywhere, but then you're nothing at the same time. And I remember there was this, it was a presence. It was a female presence. I don't know how I knew that, but you just feel this female presence.
Well, DMT is ayahuasca has the same properties, right? And
Yeah.
it's seen as a female deity. Ayahuasca is a female deity, so it would be close to the same thing. I
Yeah.
would think.
I got mine from the toad, the bufo toad.
Yeah.
In the Sonoma Valley, the Sonoma Desert. And it was crazy. And towards the end of it, just this female entity kind of washed on me and around me and through me. And she was saying, so you want to know what consciousness is? And then I just started doing this. I started rocking back and forth and just flowing. And my whole body was just flowing like this. I was like, this is consciousness. And it was just this feeling of everything and nothing at the same time. It was really trippy.
Yeah.
And so what I concluded was there's not a word in the human language to actually describe what it is, and that it's more of a gift, and it's something that you are given at a certain, I think once you pass, I think once you die,
Yeah.
I think then you actually get to understand what real consciousness is. And what we have going on right now isn't that. It's just this experience that we're having.
I've said it a couple times already, but I actually agree with you on that. One of the things, we haven't really got into ghosts and stuff yet, but
We'll get there. We're going slowly. Let's not jump
I know.
around. We're getting
I'm not going to jump to that, but I first came to this idea because of my research in that. But I've already kind of talked about how I kind of view all of it as possibly the same thing. I think that it's a good possibility that we're not supposed to know the answers to those things, that we're here, and if we just learned those answers, why would we be here? You know, I guess an example is if we found out, let's just on base level, say we found out that it's much better after you die, like it's heaven or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why the hell would you stay here?
Yeah. Right.
So I think that it's a good possibility that we place ourselves here to learn something, and we're not supposed to know the answers to these things.
Yeah. And that was, I kind of came up with that too. Like when I was given the gift of consciousness, that it was a gift of an experience that you get now. But yeah, you're not supposed to have this while you're here, and whatever while you're here is, yeah. Yeah, and like we were talking before the podcast about the Kobe Bryant situation and the beef that I got into with that dummy other podcaster. And, him and a lot of other people, why they got so upset with Kobe Bryant dying is because so many people fear death, and they think death is awful. It's horrible. It's so sad when somebody dies. Is it? Like, why would we assume that? Like, we should be kind of happy for them. Like, they've passed over now to, like, the realness. Like, we shouldn't be so upset.
We can't prove that.
Yeah, I know. I guess you're right. We can't prove it, but...
I mean, I just to their point, I could understand
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't want to die.
Charlie, go kill that fucking dog. Jeez. Sorry. Got a dog out here. I don't know if they can hear it. They probably can't hear it on mic, but I can hear it now. It's driving me nuts.
Yeah.
You guys, yeah, it's from over there. You got some antifreeze or something to leave that thing?
That's terrible.
I'm sorry. I digress. All right, let's go back. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's all right.
All right, what were we saying?
We're talking about consciousness
Yeah.
and the fear of death.
Oh yeah. You don't want to die, or you're whatever.
I'm not ready to.
I'm not ready to die either.
Yeah.
I'm not saying emphatically like it is the best thing ever to die, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of assume that it's cool.
I can say that
I
I'm
want to.
probably less afraid of it now than I have been before.
I want it
in
to
the
be cool.
past. I mean, it could be hell too.
Yeah. I don't know. It could be, but it's unlikely. It's
Probably
unlikely.
not. Yeah, it's probably not. It's probably just another place that your consciousness can go if you want to experience that.
Yeah. Which some people probably do want to experience that.
Well, it's in human nature. In order to better yourself, you usually have to go through something bad.
Yeah.
So it may be the same for your quote unquote soul, whatever it is.
That's interesting.
There's even a theory out there been pushed forward that everyone is part of a larger being, that God is actually all of us together. Like he split himself up to have all these experiences so he can learn everything. And once we die, we just go back to the mother soul or whatever.
That's
And there's
interesting.
nothing that, even if it's not one big thing, it could be that's where like soulmates come from, where it's the same soul splitting up to have a couple different experiences because they have the ability to do so. It's just a theory that's out there.
A lot of good theories out there. A lot of shitty ones too, but
Yeah.
so you're a ghost hunter.
I am. So
you
that's
do
how
you
I
believe in
actually
ghosts?
got into the field. I believe in the possibility of ghosts.
Okay.
I believe in, I was telling him, Charlie. I believe in the possibility of them. I believe in what I've experienced. Even if it's just in my head, I believe what I've experienced is something that happened.
Mm-hmm.
There's been plenty of times where I've been with multiple people and we all experienced something. It's a little more validating to me.
Right.
I've had a lot of crazy things happen to me that I don't know how to explain.
Yeah.
It was about 15 years ago I decided to start a group. Ghost Hunters came on the TV show, and I was excited about that. Started watching, and I was like, well, why don't I do this myself? So I reached out there. I found some other people. We started a group. We started going to different places around town. Actually, some of the first places we went to were here in Independence on the square, the Courthouse Exchange restaurant, and then there's a Italian restaurant, and there's several places right around here, actually.
Oh, I had no idea.
And one of the first places we would go to actually was in Excelsior Springs as well. It was an Oddfellows Lodge. Are you familiar with the Oddfellows?
I've heard. I thought that was in Liberty.
Well, so the name Oddfellows is an organization.
Okay.
It's like Mason. You know the Masons.
Yeah.
The Freemasons.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, except for that it's called the Oddfellows.
Oh, like
They're
a local
not-
like a local thing, or
Used to be there.
okay.
It actually, back in the early 1900s, they were bigger as far as membership than the Freemasons. But they've kind of all disappeared. The local chapter here closed down a few years after we investigated because I
What
had
happened?
a member that was also a member of that lodge.
Jump on Hale Bopp Comet or something?
No. But if you ever see a building with 3 rings attached at the top, or the IOOF, that used to be one of their lodges.
Okay.
Anyways, so when I first started, our tech guy was also a member of that lodge. And they only had like 5 or 6 members. But we got to go up there and investigate it whenever we wanted. It was a 3-story building, and we used it as kind of like training grounds or
Okay.
whatever, because we were just getting into the field, and it was a place we could go to with no oversight, and we had permission. So I was, second or third time I was in the basement, and it was sort of like your basement with no windows, and it was a lot larger than this, and there was a light that was all the way across. I'd say it was about 35 yards away, coming through the stairwell, but it didn't light it up very much. But his name was Gene. His flashlight died. The battery in his flashlight died. He decided he was going to go upstairs and get more batteries. So I was down there by myself. My flashlight died. And the light across there, I could see that room, but I couldn't see what was around me. I was leaning up against a pool table, and I felt somebody wrap their arms around me, push their chest up against my back, and breathe on the back of my neck 3 times, heavy. And
You got raped, son. Ghost raped.
I stepped away from it, and I was able to step through the arms if I couldn't see anything. And I made my way over by the stairs, and then I couldn't go up the stairs. All my energy was gone. I don't know if at the time I thought it was just my adrenaline zapped it out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe stole it from me. I have no idea.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if I would react the exact same now. I can say I've been grabbed several times since then, but it's never not shocking.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I don't know if I would like completely shut down like I did. Like I didn't go running, and I wasn't yelling, and I wasn't.
Well, you
I
weren't
mean, I was-
expecting it at
yeah.
all. Yeah.
And my ass was up against a pool table, so it wasn't like somebody sneaking up behind me, and the only way down there was that stairwell. So I don't
And it
know- I
felt
don't
like,
know.
but you
I
walked.
felt
wow.
the guy's chest on my back.
You know, it was a guy.
Well, I mean, it could have
I
been
mean,
flat
did it
chested
feel?
woman.
Oh, okay.
It felt masculine in
Right.
that the size, because I could feel its arms and feel
Mhm.
its chest up against my back, and the breath on the back of my neck.
Jeez.
So I never really thought about it. I always assumed it was a masculine.
Did you scream?
No, I didn't.
Screamed like a
I didn't.
bitch. Ah! Help!
I don't know. I've never had that reaction. It's usually for me, I freeze.
Yeah.
I freeze for a few seconds. My brain is trying to work out what happens, and then you go, because it's not. Even though you're there looking for it, you're not really expecting
Right.
that to happen. So when it happens, especially the longer you do it, it's more like, what was that? Was that real? And you want to go try and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
This just happened to be the first time this happened to me, and it was pretty substantial. So I didn't like stick around. I went and got out of there.
Now, would you stick around?
It depends.
Really?
I mean, I've had something grab my arm in an abandoned hospital, and I stopped for a few seconds, looked around, but then I made my way out of there because I was in the bowels of this abandoned hospital, and I couldn't find my way out. So, there's been times where I've had like shirt tugs or little things that could be anything, but
Right.
it feels like something's grabbing you that I've stuck around.
Can I have another beer?
Sure. What kind do you want?
IPA. Are there, like, you were hesitant to say you would stick around if that guy hugged you again? Is there, like, what do you think would happen if something like that would happen and you did just stay around and just, hey man, hug me as long as you want and do what you like? Is there in your mind any kind of danger that something could happen? Like if I stayed long enough that he could possess me or hurt me, or like, is there any kind of worry or concern or anything?
There's that thought and idea. I've never had what I would call evil's even not the right word, a demonic kind of experience.
Okay.
If we're actually dealing with the souls of a passed on person,
Mm-hmm.
there's good people and there's evil people. So those souls might be those spirits or whatever they are might be the same way. So I've dealt with some that seemed like they were mean or scary. I guess I've never had the feeling that I was ever being attacked. Even that, I felt intimidated, but I didn't necessarily feel like I was being attacked. I know that those kind of stories exist. I've had personal friends that have had that kind of stuff happen to them. I never have. And but I do believe it's a possibility, so I always kind of mentally protect myself in a way. It's
Okay.
hard, and it's more of just the idea. And I don't even know if I'm doing anything, but the idea that I can protect myself, I feel sometimes protects me.
Okay.
And I've just kind of always had that. So maybe that's why nothing's really crazy's happened. I do have to say that over the last couple years, I've thought more and more about, as time goes on and I keep doing it, chances are something bad, really bad, may happen.
Do you think that's a possibility? Are there those stories out there where bad things do happen, or do these things have any actual power other than
I've
maybe
heard
showing their
stories
presence?
of full possession.
Okay.
I've heard stories of being ripped out of windows and I guess I can't think of anybody personally that has died. There's those kind of stories are out there, of course, but they're just mythology on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So
do you? I guess what I'm trying to. Do you think there is any kind, even if it's very small, like a small percentage of danger in dealing with these entities or ghosts or whatever?
there is something that has happened to me, and it didn't happen on an investigation, so it didn't pop into my head real quick when we were talking about it. I have had an experience with something that I think may have been. It's hard with the descriptive words of them. Are they evil? Or are they demonic? Demonic tends to move towards demon, which puts an image in somebody's mind.
Okay.
I've had something happen one night that scared the shit out of me. And it was in my house where I live now.
Me too. My girlfriend walked in when I had another girl in bed with me. I'm just kidding. Jokes, everybody. Jokes.
So my wife was asleep. It was, I don't know what time it was. It was after 11 or so.
Mm-hmm.
My wife was asleep next to me. I was in bed. My dogs were in there and asleep. And all of a sudden, I had an overwhelming feeling that there was somebody standing in the room. That there was, something or somebody standing in the room staring at us. I couldn't see anything. It wasn't completely dark, but I couldn't make out anything. And that feeling went on for a little while, that I was able to fall asleep. And in that first dream, I was in my daughter's bedroom at a different place we lived at in the past when she was little. And I was on the floor of her bedroom playing with her. And all of a sudden, this little ball of black smoke about the size of a basketball comes swirling in the bedroom and swirling around in the dream. And I wake up and I feel like, again, that there's something in the bedroom. And I felt uncomfortable. So I didn't get out of bed. I couldn't see anything. I felt like there was something there. And after a while, I just fell asleep again. And this time, I was in the middle of an orchard. And there was like a fire in the background somewhere. Like maybe the trees off in the distance part of the orchard were on fire. And I saw this black figure step out from behind a tree and look at me. And then I woke up. And at this time, I had a friend who I believe is a powerful psychic. And I was trying to mentally reach out to him because I was trying to do whatever I could to make myself feel better in the moment. I didn't
Right.
know what to do. I felt like there was something in the bedroom with us. I didn't want to wake up my wife. I didn't really know what to do. So I was trying to reach out, and that didn't work. But eventually I fell asleep again. And the last dream I had, I was outside of the house I live in now. The house was on fire, but I could see into my daughter's room, which at the time was upstairs, and there was no way for her to get out. And I watched her die in that dream.
Jesus.
While this black figure was standing in the corner of her room staring at me.
Damn.
And it was terrible.
Yeah.
I woke up and I finally got out of bed and I felt like the thing was gone. I don't know if that was just a series of crazy dreams,
Right.
or if, and this is what somebody told me they believe it was something that was going by in the spectral realm and noticed me, knew that I was into this stuff, and was like, I'm just going to fuck with him for the night.
I like it.
And
A
they said
prankster, yeah.
this guy's theories are also that they don't necessarily live on the same timeline that we do. So it could be that they're going to pop back up in a couple of years, but to really them, it was just a few minutes. And they just pick people to mess with, and that's what it was. I have no idea. But that stuck with me for a long time. That was probably 10 years ago now.
Oh, that would trip me out.
But
Yeah, you didn't. You know, they say one way to get rid of those visitations is well, just say something like Jesus Christ or something like, in the name of Jesus Christ, I rebuke you or something like that.
Well, at that time, I had this thing that I would actually do after some investigations. And like I said before, I don't know if any of this stuff really works, but it made me feel a little bit better. I'd picture a little ball of light and expand it to encompass my house and push anything that might be in there out of it. I don't know if it did anything. I was trying to do that at that night while I was laying in bed with that thing in there, but I felt like it wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
So that whole night was just like a blur of freaking out, being in a dream. Maybe even the parts that I was awake, that I thought that I was awake, was in a dream. I have no idea. It was just, it was so vivid. There's only like 2 or 3 other dreams in my life that I could remember to that detail.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I have no idea.
I had a dream 2 nights ago that felt real to me, and like it was almost lucid, and I remember it in detail. And when I woke up, you know, I felt good. It was for some reason I was in the NFL being a running back, and they said, Ryan, it was just so weird, but Ryan, if you can get a touchdown as a running back in the NFL, we'll let you fight in the UFC.
Wow.
I don't know, wherever this shit came from. And I remember all of a sudden getting into this football game, and I got the football, and on my size, I'm not a big guy. I'm certainly not running back size.
Yeah.
And I'm juking people, and I'm super fast. I'm switching the ball to the right arm, and like everything zip zoom, and I got the touchdown. I was like, all right, it was awesome. It felt real.
Yeah.
It felt awesome. And then boom, all right, Ryan, you get to go in the UFC. And then I went in the UFC and got in a fight.
Yeah. How'd that end up?
It was good. It was like a real quick. I choked
Yeah.
the dude out real quick.
Nice.
But it all felt real.
Yeah.
It was just it was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, dreams are. Yeah, so where I was going with like dreams, where you were saying with like that, you know, they say, I don't know if they've proven or not, but I think they think when you're like in heavy REM sleep that your brain is dripping DMT.
Yeah.
And that maybe that's where like, especially like some of the UFO abduction stories come from. It tends to be at nighttime that maybe these people were just having a real heavy REM sleep.
That's definitely a theory. I mean, that's even a theory that a lot of ufologists and, well, specifically abductees, people that study that kind of thing, not necessarily the abductees themselves, believe there might be a good possibility as to what is actually happening to people. We've been all over the map this just feels like another one of my episodes. It's just I do think about how your viewers might, or your listeners might view my ideas. It doesn't really bother me, but we've talked about some crazy stuff.
Well, yeah, you're throwing on Paracon. I don't get this opportunity to talk to people that are into
that's
this.
more than fine. I want to say that the Paracon itself, there will be a lot of these ideas talked about by certain people, but it's also, if you just want to come and learn about a few cute little ghost stories, that we have that too. So, and it's my thing with the paranormal is I don't think I've ever met anybody that's not interested in it. They may not believe in it. They may not have ever had an experience, but they like to hear about it. They like to talk about it. Ooh, you had a UFO experience. Let me hear about it. I've never come across anybody that flat out doesn't want to hear anything about it.
It's fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Who typically shows up to these to your paranormal conference?
You're talking about attendees or the
like attendees? Like who are you? I mean, I guess you want anybody and everybody to show up, but is there like a set type of person that always shows up, or is it usually like
the demographics is tough? I mean, it's not no age group that really just it's kind of everybody. I mean, I can't necessarily put it in. Of course, there's different subsets of people that come. Like the other people that are in paranormal groups in town, they come out. UFO people come out, and just general people interested in it come out. And I have a hard time putting it into one. Like if I were to put out a Facebook ad and I wanted to target people, I don't have that.
Yeah.
I just put in an area because it doesn't, one, I don't want to limit it, but two, I would say that if someone came in to they would see that there's 18-year-old people, there's 65-year-old people, and they're all different walks of life. And so it's hard. I don't think there's one type of person that comes out to my event.
Is there any crossover beef, like UFO guys going to the ghost guys, like, oh, what, you guys are ridiculous, I can't believe you believe in this? Or
that happens in the field, but it doesn't happen at my event. I could say that it isn't just me. I think I've gotten lucky because that's definitely in the field. It's very prevalent in the field.
Is
actually.
it?
We've never had a problem at my event. I think it has to do with myself and how I put myself out there. And we've had people like, not last year, the year before, actually last year too, that I knew that this group didn't like this group. They both rented tables to have at their event. I don't put them next to each other.
Oh no, come on.
But we've never had a problem at the event between anybody. They kind of know that if you start shit at my event, you're gone. You're not. I'll let anybody buy a ticket and come in. But if you perpetuate that,
don't start no
in
drama.
this field, you're not going to be invited back, and you're going to be removed.
Yeah.
So,
I would also imagine it probably doesn't happen a lot in person. There's probably a lot of the keyboard warriors out there.
There's that too.
Talking shit behind
there's that too.
Anonymity.
There's when I first started in this field, nobody talked to each other. Paranormal teams, for the most part, didn't talk to the other paranormal teams, and I think it was out of sense of competition, because one, there was the real possibility that if you were good enough, anybody could get a TV show. So if you started working with another group,
I can see
you
that.
may help prop up that group and take a little away from you. At least that's how it was viewed. But there's also even competition between locations to investigate.
Oh, that makes sense.
So if a group feels that a certain place is their place to investigate, they don't want any other teams to investigate it. I've never been that way. I've never seen it as that way. It's actually gotten a lot better, and I do feel that I've always been the type that I will reach out to new groups. I will reach out to everybody. I can't take all the credit for it, but I think my event and the way that I've approached the paranormal field in Kansas City has made the environment for paranormal teams in Kansas City a lot better than even other cities.
Okay, that's cool.
There's actually groups and people in town that don't like me, that don't like anything that I do just because they have a certain perception of me, and that's fine. It still happens, but I'd say that it's a lot better than it used to be.
Why don't they like you? Is it competition? They think you're too
A little
friendly?
bit of
Like
everything.
what would it be? Like
I'd say that most of the ones that I don't get along with now, they have an agenda of their own, and I don't like that agenda. So I've at some point let them know about that, because I don't hold back either.
what kind of agendas are we talking about? Like what would
Mostly money. Like
okay.
there's some teams in town that they host small events, and that's all they do, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with that, but they feel that I'm some way in competition with them.
I gotcha.
I don't want to get into any specifics between people, but there's
Sure.
also people that there's a guy, he full on hates me because he invited me on an investigation once. I thanked him profusely during the investigation, but I didn't go on my podcast the next day and thank him publicly. So I mean, there's just little stuff like that too.
Okay. Nitpicky people, just
yeah.
insecure people, really.
And it's kind of like podcasting too, in that groups pop up, they last maybe a year or two, and then they go away.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, if anybody negative comes into the field and they have, it doesn't have anything to do with their views on things or how they do their things. It's how they interact with the rest of the field. That if they're anyway in a negative way when it comes to that, they don't, if they last long, it's just doing their own thing. They don't really move into the rest of the field.
Yeah, podcasting is a lot like that. Anytime you get any kind of like niche groups like that, especially if you get enough of these groups, you're just going to find haters. You're going to find jealous people. You're going to find insecure people that are afraid that you're taking something away from them. A lot of famine mentality.
Yeah.
And it's just, it doesn't, I've said many times on here that, you know, the tide raises all ships.
Yeah.
Like, everybody should come together, and paranormal people, all the different groups, how much better would that field be if everybody shared their information and their experiences and just brought all that stuff together? But yeah, then you get, I can see it. I mean,
that's kinda
when you
how-
get money involved, people want to start getting funny.
And I try to be that example, even in so that guy that vehemently hates me, and I actually
Fuck
don't,
him.
Well, I actually don't necessarily like his methods of investigation. That's whatever.
Yeah.
If he wanted to come purchase a table at the conference, I'd let him do it, as long as he didn't cause any drama at the event.
That's cool.
That'd be fine with me.
He would never do that.
No, he wouldn't.
He doesn't. Yeah, his ego is too big for that.
Yeah.
When is this conference?
It is July 31st and August 1st. So we are hopeful that we can still. It is in Kansas City proper, so we fall under their COVID rules, whatever. It's still 2.5 months away.
Yeah.
So hopefully we will be able to have it, because we're looking at about 1,000 people this year. So if they open it up to even that much, we'll still have it. And I'm thinking it's going to happen.
Where is the location?
It's at the Ararat Shrine Event Center. It's by the stadiums. It's, if you haven't been there, then you probably don't know about it. But it's really close to the stadiums.
Huh. Where? By the FCA?
It's on the western side of 435.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And there's a McDonald's there and some other stuff. And it's
Okay.
back in the back.
Oh, that's
back in
cool.
there.
That's close to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering about that with all this COVID, which Trump now calls just a situation. I just saw a tweet today. He goes, "What this COVID situation?" And then he put in parentheses pandemic. I thought it was funny. Oh, it's just a situation now, which I mean, it kind of is. I mean, with where the new information we're getting, the mortality rate's under 1%. So yeah, but with everything going on with that, I'm sure it was probably kind of stressing you out a little bit, huh?
Yeah, and actually, so my normal time to start planning everything is usually about March. This year, I happen to have an opportunity in March for a large marketing opportunity in March, so I started planning a lot earlier. So I think that I got lucky in getting everything off the ground and getting everything planned before this even started. So, and now it's looking that unless there's some kind of second wave that comes through, we'll be able to do it.
Good.
So
Good. I was curious and kind of worried.
I mean, I can't say it's not a worry for me.
Sure.
I'm looking at a possible second date if I have to.
Okay.
It's kind of hard because the venue that I have is booked up through the end of the year. So if I want to move it off, it's keep that venue, I would have to go into 2021. And just so people know, if you buy a ticket or book a table, it's all refundable. If it doesn't happen, I'm not going to keep your money.
Oh, yeah, I would hope not.
There
There are some assholes out there that probably would. Yeah, I guess
it's
I could see
happened in the
that.
paranormal field.
What are your ticket? I saw that you have different ticket options. Like, what is that ticket situation? How much are they? What do you get with it? Like, explain what it is other than seeing these people there. Like, what am I going to experience when I've never been to one of these? What will a person that's never been to a convention like this, are they gonna be comfortable for the first time, and what are they gonna experience?
Yeah, so it's sort of a vendor event and a presentation event. So
Okay.
we will have a very large vendor room with hopefully up to 100 vendors that are anything from like crystal sellers to CBD sellers to authors that want to sell their books or psychics that want to give readings or any kind of different.
Okay, that's cool.
There's
That's fun.
several different types of psychics and how they do readings, and we'll have several different ones there.
Nice.
Crystal
Balls. Anybody have a crystal ball anymore? Is that a thing?
There is that.
Nice.
I've never personally done one of those. That'd be kind of fun, actually. But there is. I don't know if there's been anybody that does a psychic ball or a crystal ball reading at my event. But the stuff that they do is very similar. There'll be, all of our speakers will have tables, including our special guests, which are celebrity special guests. They'll have tables when they're not on stage, so you can interact with them or get autographs from them. And then there's this presentation room that'll be running all weekend too, where you can see a speaker on UFOs or a speaker on ghosts or Bigfoot, and they're going to be all different spaced out, and the celebrities will all be giving a presentation too. And I think this year we'll have a second room going this year, actually, which will be the first thing in tandem. So I've always had enough presenters that I could open up a second room, but I never really wanted them to overlap before. But I probably have 45, 50 different people that want to present at my event. It's hard to say no, especially this will be the first year in this event, this venue, where we have another room to do it in. So I'm making it clear to them, you may be up against somebody else, but if you want to give a presentation in that room, you can. So we have about 25 to 30 presenters this year.
Wow. Are a lot of them local presenters?
There are several locals, and several of the local people I haven't quite announced yet, but I did announce a guy named KD Stafford. Okay. He is a local guy, and he's been on a Travel Channel show called Ghosts of Morgan City.
Okay.
And this will be I've known him before, but this is the first year he'll give a presentation. Now, our more special guests are mostly from other areas, like Grant Wilson from Ghost Hunters is our big headliner. He will be presenting this year. The picture I sent you was of Dean Haglund. He was in the X-Files. He was one of the lone gunmen. And
my parents got into that show. I never got into it. I didn't watch much TV back when that show was on.
Now he does presentations on the paranormal and conspiracies and stuff. And he's a traveling stand-up comedian. So he's going to be doing a VIP comedian or a stand-up routine on Saturday night. So that'll be fun. I'm actually really excited about that because I've been such a fan of X-Files and them in particular, the characters. We also have a couple called Greg and Dana Newkirk. They have a show on Amazon called Hellier that's been very popular. And Dustin Perry from Ghost Hunters. And Brandy Green from Ghost Hunters International. Those are our big special guests this year.
I never got into any of these shows, but
it's
sure
actually honestly been a long time since I've seen any of them. Kind of, for me,
are they rock stars in this world?
I mean, Grant certainly is a founder.
I could see that guy being a rock star. He was on X-Files.
No, Grant Wilson from Ghost Hunters.
Oh, who's the guy that was the X-Files guy?
His name's Dean Haglund.
Dean Haglund, okay.
Yeah. But so they all do all these events, but I'd say Grant is definitely, he's one of the higher end special guests out there. He was, a lot of people's entry into the field was because of Ghost Hunters, the TV show, and he founded that with Jason. So.
I believe I've seen a couple episodes of that, but it's just kind of hard to get into those shows for me because it's a lot of see what happens next after this commercial.
Yeah, there's that, and
then it's nothing. And then it's I don't know. It's hardly ever anything, or because it's TV, I am very skeptical.
Oh yeah,
very skeptical. It's for money. It's for advertising. If they're spending all this time and money and energy in an abandoned warehouse somewhere, and all of a sudden they hear a noise, to me it's a producer.
Oh yeah.
So it's just hard. It's really hard for me to believe in something like that. I have always wanted, because I'm so skeptical about this stuff, I have always wanted to do something like that and have an experience. But I mean, what do I? I
could take you on one.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Larry and I do them often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would I freak out? Would I get scared? Larry in the corner saying, "Oh yeah," big grin on his face.
I would say that in my experience, this is what I tell most people before they come on something: is you, for the most part, are going to freak yourself out more than anything that.
That's the thing. Like I would be more. I'm more afraid because I am a hunter and I'm an outdoorsman. I'm more afraid of animals. I'm just gonna like I don't want to go into an abandoned basement or shack or something that's in the middle of nowhere that it's hardly ever visited, and there's like raccoons or probably not a mountain lion, but mountain lions scare the shit out of me.
I was telling Larry on the way over here. I actually stopped in the graveyard in KCK that my grandparents are in last week, and it was after dark, and I saw a mountain lion in that graveyard.
Jesus Christ, that's scarier than any ghost you're gonna find. It's like, oh man, like
this is core KCK mountain lion, and there's neighborhoods all around it.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah,
I can definitely believe it. Bobcats, mountain lions, they're around here.
Yeah, people hype themselves up for what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then if a little sound happens, they're scared because they're already anticipating it. I can't say that happens with everybody. That happens with most people.
Yeah, I could definitely get myself a little. But if but I'm not too worried. I know animals are just more afraid of. Yeah. I would do that. I would love to.
Yeah, well, we'll set
really?
We'll set it up.
All right.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. Oh, I'm excited. What are my odds of having an encounter? Probably not very high, huh?
I can't guarantee anything.
No, of course not.
Actually, I just got the phone number for the place that I had my big experience that I told you about. And hopefully we can get back in there. If I do, you could come along.
All right, dude. I'm excited.
You can stand where I stood when I got hugged.
I want to tell that guy to wear a condom or something. I'm not getting any ghost AIDS, man.
I brought you something from a haunted location.
Really?
And
I see you got this crystal,
like
over here. Oh, that's what you brought?
Actually,
nice.
It's actually salt.
Ooh, rock salt or something? What are they?
So in underneath most of Kansas.
You brought that for me or just to show me?
No, I brought it for your studio.
Sweet. Yeah.
Under most of Kansas, there's huge salt deposits, and there's some of the biggest salt mines in the world are in Kansas.
I had no idea.
In Hutchinson, Kansas, there's a salt mine called, well, the museum part of it's called Stratica, and it's they have a museum down there dedicated to salt mining, but there's also like Hollywood uses it for storage. So there's miles of storage from old films and stuff.
Hollywood uses it for storage? Yeah. Oh, wow. That's props.
Cool. You don't get to go into that area, but the museum gets to put stuff on display. There was actually one of the little machines from Twister. What were the little devices they were trying to put in front of
those little
UFOs?
things? The
Dorothy's.
Okay. Yeah.
There was one of those. There was
a Dorothy in there?
Yeah, the George Clooney. Maybe it was the Val Kilmer Batman suit. A bunch of stuff from Men in Black. But I got contacted because they wanted to do an event down there for paranormal. And I went out there and investigated it several times. And this is a piece of salt I picked up from there.
Dope.
And I didn't have any personal experiences down there, but several people that worked there did. They spend a lot of time down there. And salt is supposed to be protective. So maybe you could use it to protect your house, but it is from that salt mine.
Sweet.
That's supposedly haunted.
Dude, thank you so much. I'm putting it. I have, which is awesome. I had 2 crystals, and then I did a live show at in a venue a couple months ago, and I brought some of my stuff, and I lost one of my crystals.
Oh.
So this makes a great replacement for it.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you. That means a lot to me. Thanks.
You could probably lick it. But
I was going to. I didn't.
Yeah.
I to be honest, to be 100, I was gonna wait till everybody left, and then I was gonna lick it. I didn't want to lick it in front of everybody.
That part of the mine that was from was dug in the 1950s, and that mine went from the 30s up. They still mine it today in a different part of it. They actually everything that goes into the mine stays in the mine. They don't pay money to haul out trash or broken materials, so it's all still down there, and that's part of the museum. But so are the toilets. That did not come from one of the toilets, but who knows what went across that piece since the 1950s.
I mean, that's why I have such a strong immune system. I've been licking shit like that since I was 2.
So that would be my argument. I'm not saying it's from a toilet. That would be my argument not to lick it. But I can't.
I'm gonna lick it.
I have other pieces, and I know other of my friends have licked it. They haven't licked that one.
Even if they did, I'm not scared. I'm gonna lick it when you guys leave. I'm telling you that right now. Yeah, I was even looking. I was like, I wonder if I took like I have a cheese grater, and when I have my eggs in the morning, if I just shave off on the cheese grater.
Yeah, it is. I think Morton Salt is the company. Well, Morton.
I thought
Salt,
they were in Utah. I thought Morton.
They
was,
probably
right,
have them several.
They're probably You're right. They're
I can't. So that's been 5 years ago, and the name of the mine is not the same name as the company that mines it, and I can't quite remember, but it's one of the table salt companies.
That's awesome.
So
hell yeah, thank you so much, and it's gonna protect me. Hopefully.
Salt is supposed to be protective. Like,
How
have you
come?
ever heard
Why?
of like the mythology of putting a ring of salt around something to keep out bad spirits?
I've heard of something.
I mean, it's even in fairy tales.
Yeah, there's something in the Bible too. Oil. They do some kind of oil in the Bible, I think, where they put it around like the foundation of the house.
Yeah, I mean, there's several things that do that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Even like animal blood on the door.
You mean just from the Moses story?
No, just
That's
from
animal?
it's actual thing. You know,
Any
it's something
particular
that
animal?
I like to. Well, I'm sure that each
Sheep or something.
group had their different things, but this is something I like to talk with people about a little bit. Have you ever noticed how there's a lot of people with red doors on their houses?
No, I haven't.
No, you've never noticed that? It's kind of a trend.
I don't notice things.
It's been
Like
around
that.
for a long time, but that trend, even though it's trendy now and most people don't realize it, it comes from putting animal blood on their door to protect the house from evil spirits.
Wow.
There's a lot of churches that use red door for symbolism, but that's where it comes from.
Huh.
So people that are just being trendy with their red doors in their neighborhoods, they don't realize that symbolizes the blood that used to be put on front doors.
That's the evil. Stay off evil spirits.
Yeah.
Do
There's different.
you have a red door?
No, I don't.
That's why you got visited.
Oh, probably. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I need to paint my door red.
Or not.
Yeah.
Did you like it? Would you want another experience like that?
Probably not from that thing. I mean, it did show my daughter being burnt to death.
That's pretty bad, man. That's a nightmare. That's a fucking nightmare. So I have a good friend. I'll shout her out. She's a big fan of the podcast. Her name is Brooke. She's a beautiful young lady. And she told me an experience. She's a friend of the podcast, and I told her, like, hey, I got a paranormal dude coming on, and you're going to love it. She's like, oh, ask him or talk to him about, she had an experience. Her sister and her mother all had the same experience, and they never talked about it until recently.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened a long time ago, but they all had the same experience at different times, where it was like a dude in like a top hat or something.
Oh yeah,
Visit them.
Hat Man.
Yes, Hat Man.
Hat Man.
Like at the edge of the bed, and you can see the outline of this guy. And she said that this time he had a top hat on, and in that house they all had the same experience of this entity that looked like a man with a top hat on that visited them.
Hat Man is a very, I want to say it's a very real thing, but that gives a different connotation that I believe that it's real. But it's something that a lot of people report. I'll put it that way. I've never had I've experienced shadow people. It's kind of put in the same kind of realm as shadow people. Hat Man is seen as a type of a shadow person.
What exactly is a shadow person?
Wow.
From what? How do you paranormal people or whatever that world? What do they explain?
That's actually a big debate right now. There's all kinds of different ideas of what shadow people could be.
Okay.
Pick your idea, and that's what there's a group of people that think it's that. I'm gonna disappoint in saying that I don't know if I could put it. It's hard to put a motivation behind something that I can't. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard.
That's fine. I'm not. You're not the end all be all.
No.
I'm just throwing questions out there.
I couldn't say that I couldn't say that I know what Hat Man's motivation is. There's also people that have had Hat Man invade their dreams. And
Do you give dreams any kind of credibility? I mean, I guess you do because of the dreams that you had, the nightmare, your daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you give that some credibility, but do you think dreams are just, like I said, I was in the NFL and then immediately transitioned to the UFC. I love dreams, but yeah, I mean.
Well, let's say if we are projected into our brains from another source, dreams could be an interpretation of something that we need to know, or they could just be random with little droplets of things we need to know. I mean, it's another thing. Just like the paranormal field, nobody knows what it means or what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Brooke, I think I would be happy to know that the Hat Man is something that happens a lot to a lot of people. So
yeah, she's
not
that,
alone
yeah.
in that. But I have a hard time with that, and with any other type of ghost there could be, what their reasoning for being there could be. I mean, clearly she didn't have too bad of an experience with it. I mean, it probably scared her
a little bit.
I don't know. I don't want
to
say
freaked.
that
She probably was turned on by it.
I don't want to say that it was something protective when I don't know that. I don't want to say that it was something evil when I don't know that.
Are there protective ghosts or
I would think that
entities? What's the best way? What do you call these entities? Ghosts?
That's hard too, because when I say it, so
you're
not in the paranormal field, right? So
right.
I could say any number of them, and it probably means the same thing to you. But if somebody that's a researcher, not that I'm that worried about it but if somebody's a researcher, they'll like, well, didn't you mean this name instead of that name? I kind of just use the term spirit.
Okay. I didn't know if there was like a certain vernacular that was across the board everybody agreed to for something like that.
No, absolutely not. It's all over
a lot
the
of
place.
Debate.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there's different, there's 100 different types of something too that all have different names or a little bit different names. So it's so hard to speak on just generalities by using a certain name of something when it in some people's minds it means exactly this, where in the rest of the world's mind it could just mean any number of things.
Okay.
Especially does that answer your question?
A little bit, I guess. I mean, I guess language is always interpretive and it's always growing, but I guess most people would understand if you said ghost or entity or spirit. At least Northern Americans at least are going to understand.
Yeah, and that's I guess that's what I meant.
Yeah,
most people even listening to my show where we talk about this stuff all the time understand the different names necessarily, but they're not going to fault me for calling something a spirit when the description of what I might be talking about might fall under ghost, if there's a difference in some people's minds. Which there is in some people's minds. But in my mind, not necessarily, because I kind of view it all as possibly coming from the same source.
Do you have a lot of resistance when you bring this stuff up, talking about paranormal activities?
Not really.
Really? Are you kind of in an echo chamber, or do you not talk about this with everybody? Like, how open are you when you're talking about this kind of stuff?
It's definitely changed over the years. When I first started, I wouldn't bring it up very much with people I didn't know necessarily. But now, even at work, like if a new person comes in, I don't talk about it a lot unless somebody asks me about it. But I definitely don't keep it a secret. And when somebody asks me my thoughts on something, I don't hold back because I'm worried about what they might think.
Is there anything you believe in? You say, I believe in the possibility, blah, blah, blah. But is there anything that you're like, that UFO when I was 7 and that other thing, the pyramid when I was 18? Like, I know that was real. Like, do you know those were real? Or do you just think they were real? Like, is there anything that you're like, I believe that this is whatever, 100%, like anything that you're like, I believe it?
I don't know if you're going to like this answer.
I don't like or dislike any answer. Okay. I want the truth. The truth is the answer I like.
I believe that I am some sort of entity having an experience. Mm-hmm. And I trust in whatever I'm experiencing, I'm supposed to have that experience, even if it's just supposed to be random. So I try not to put motivation behind that kind of thing.
Okay.
Even though I think that there's a good possibility there could be a motivation behind it, but I have no way of figuring that out. So instead of frustrating myself over it, I kind of just accept it as a possibility.
Okay. But you should... I'm kind of going to accept that as an answer. However, you're running a convention. You have a podcast.
But I'm also not asking anybody else to believe or not believe
I'm
or
not,
have
yeah,
a different
I'm
levels
not saying
of
you
belief.
are.
No, I mean...
But like in your heart of hearts, like you obviously have some kind of...
I have a personal interest in it, and
Yeah,
I love
like, I
reading
mean, like-
about it and studying it. And I love learning about it.
Mm-hmm.
I even...
But you're so balls deep into this that you're throwing on a convention. Like you don't do that unless you're super passionate. It's not like
yeah,
me.
but I can argue that there isn't necessarily because I don't have a belief. Belief for me is not the right word in how I view it.
Okay.
But because I don't have 100% belief in something doesn't mean I can't be passionate in it.
Okay.
In my viewpoint, anyways.
Just a passion of learning about it, or
learning about it, researching about it, experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
There also is another motivation that I don't hide. I get off on the challenge of putting the event together.
Okay.
Like it
That's
drives me, and the satisfaction of having pulled it off has nothing to do with the paranormal.
Right.
And I love doing that. So
I get it.
It just happens to be something that I'm also passionate about.
That's cool.
So,
That's cool.
yeah.
I had a good one. I had a good question, and I lost it in that because I really like that answer of getting off on putting together an event like that and pulling it off. I threw together an event and didn't pull it off.
Well,
and it was demoralizing.
My first year of the event.
It was dope, but it was demoralizing. It was dope for a lot of people, but for me, it was just Charlie.
It wasn't a loss.
Charlie, I'm telling you, I was this close to quitting the podcast after that. We'll talk about that later. Sorry.
I want to hear this story, but I'll say
we can talk about it when you're done with your.
My first event, the first year that I did. This year will be the 9th year.
Wow! Congratulations.
Yeah. The first year, I had every year up until the last couple of years, everybody that came and spoke at the event volunteered their time. I would say 80% of the people speaking at the event this year are volunteering their time, and the people that I do pay are to get people in to hear the people that are volunteering their time.
Cool.
So the first year I had people from all over the country coming to speak at my event and present. I had
volunteering. That's huge.
I had 10 people buy tickets. 10, and only 5 of them showed up. I was so demoralized. I got really drunk that night, and everybody said that I organized it so well that I just need to keep doing it, keep figure out the marketing.
I know, man. I
Exactly.
I know.
And that's what I did, and I'm glad that I did because I easily could have given up and been fine with it. So,
congratulations, man! 9 years is huge to put on a reoccurring event like that.
Yeah, it's gotten bigger every year. It's almost doubled in size every year.
Dude, you got legit people coming.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised. Like, I don't know these names that you're telling me, but I can see that they're big names.
Yeah.
Like a dude that has a TV show, the Ghost Hunter guy. I know that show. That's a big fucking show.
Yeah,
I've seen it. And then the Dean Haglund. I've heard the name X-Files. That's huge.
So
like, how cool is that to get like quote unquote celebrities at your event? Man, hell yeah.
So my first year of the event, my budget overall of how much it cost was about $500. This year, with sponsors and everybody helping out, the overall monetary value of the event is about $25,000 to $30,000.
Holy shit.
So I always put it on as in I want to make my money back, and I always have.
Damn.
But I don't try to go. I always put the money back into the event.
Yeah,
so,
that's awesome.
yeah.
All right, you want to hear my
I do.
sad story? It's sad. I haven't talked about it. In fact, people listening to this now, it'll be redundant because, whatever. I record this episode and it's going to be put out next week. But tomorrow, episode 100 comes out and it's going to be the event. I'm putting the event out tomorrow for episode 100. So I threw an event at a venue called the Rhino.
I heard you mention that this in one of your past episodes that this event was coming up.
Okay.
You had
Thanks for listening to my
you
show,
had,
by the way.
the guy from Fox 4.
Yes.
Is this that event?
Yes. This is that Sean Edwards.
Yeah.
Probably the coolest dude in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Just like a cool fucking dude. Like, not like, oh, that dude's cool. Like, this dude oozes. Like, he's got it. Like, this dude's friends with, like, major celebrities. And he talks about them like, oh, yeah, they're whatever. They're my friends. Like, no big deal. It's like, this dude's like, he's got the it factor.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. I didn't know him from Adam when I set this event up. So anyways, it was a live event at the Rhino in North Kansas City. And it was something I've been talking about. And I in my mind, came up with a really great night. I had 2 stand-up comics. They each performed 20 minutes of material.
Yeah.
And then I did the podcast on stage with Sean Edwards for a little over an hour. And then I'm into hip-hop. And I had 2 really, some of my favorite hip-hop artists in Kansas City perform. And it was just like a whole, like, I called it Primordial Brew.
Yeah.
It's, off promote, whatever. And I told everyone to come out. A lot of people said they were going to come out. I was selling tickets. I had this, my mom flew in from Michigan to come see this thing. Like, it was just like this cool thing I was super excited to throw. And hardly anybody showed up.
Yeah.
Just no, but like hardly anybody showed up. And it felt like I was having a birthday party and nobody came.
No.
And it was super demoralizing because I put all this love and effort into it. And I wanted to showcase my friends, my people, everybody. I just wanted it to be a big pot. I didn't want to make any money off it. I gave all the money. I was going to give all the money to the performers. Yeah. And I didn't make any money on it, but I still paid them something. I paid everybody a very, very small, $20 or something a piece. But yeah, it sucked. But I mean, the people that showed up had an amazing time. They loved it. It was a great concept. And everybody that showed up, which the cool thing is the people that did show up all have been networking together. Like, I brought people together and now I see them doing things together. Yeah. Which is really cool that I was able to do that. But which is a success. But in my mind, it was a complete failure because, nobody, it's just.
I get that sense of a lot of my really good friends I've met by putting on my event, and they all start doing things together. They didn't know each other before, and they start doing things. A lot of good projects have come out of them meeting through my event. And if I had known about the event at that time, I would have came.
Yeah.
But I didn't start listening to you yet then.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm glad you've listened to a few episodes. That's awesome. What do you think of it?
I like it.
Yeah.
It's a conversational podcast. It's kind of a podcast I like listening to, and even though I don't necessarily, get into the same kind of stuff that you get into, I do enjoy the conversations in them.
Yeah, well, I get into all kinds of different shit. Yeah. I mean, I've talked to just every kind of walk of life I can get my hands on here in Kansas City.
I love the fact that the conversation or the episode you had with the guy that owns the coffee place all was just about motivation and.
Oh.
That was an older
guy?
one. Yeah, I don't remember his name. He owns a coffee place
in town. But it was Dream Muscle Coffee.
I listened to part of that episode.
Yeah,
the first part of the episode was all about motivation, though.
Yeah,
which I thought was really good.
Yeah, that guy. Fuck that guy. He owes me money. He stole $120 from me.
Oh.
Oh,
well, sorry to bring that up.
No, it's cool. Of course not. Who would know? No, he was cool. I like his, and the sad thing is he does make the meanest cup of coffee in Kansas City. Yeah. I would love to promote him and his business a lot more, but the dude stole from me.
Oh, yeah.
I can't do it. Like, I almost didn't air the episode, but to be honest, I really needed content, and I was like out of episodes, so I was like, damn it, I have to throw it up here. So I threw it up, whatever. And it's fine. I don't hold a grudge, but I will let people know. I don't hold a grudge. It's fine, but I'll let people know who is a piece of shit and who isn't. Like, whatever, man. Like, It's probably why I have a little bit of beef in the city
Yeah.
with some people. Well, people have beef with me. Yeah, I guess I have some beef with people too. Let's be real. State your line I got beef with, and you can tell them or not. I know
Yeah.
you're going to be on their podcast.
I
You
don't
can
have
say,
a
"Hey,
date set yet, so if they're listening to this, they might not have.
He's not. They're not listening to this. They're not listening to this. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess basically everything is simulation theory. This is all a glitch.
I think that that's a high
Is that really-
possibility. I mean, it would certainly explain
It explains a lot.
most things.
But is that an easy cop out?
I think that it's viewed as that for sure, because
Mhm.
it kind of negates the sense of a need for morality, because if you're not in charge,
Yeah.
then you can lay off what bad things you do on the simulation.
I kind of look at it as not if you're not in charge, but if you are in charge.
In charge within the simulation.
Yeah, like this is a video game.
Yeah.
I'm going to play it like a video game.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like I said, I don't necessarily subscribe to that theory, but I really, really like it. And I've been telling myself that I like it more and more lately, and just trying to get to a point, if I do believe it enough as to like a hardcore Christian believes in God,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe I can get myself to start playing this video game better and being more, successful in air quotes, just with life in general. I don't know. It's something I'm messing around with, and I'm hoping, I don't know. Like if you believe you are, I don't believe I'm Neo by any stretch of the imagination, but if I'm in the video game, maybe there's something I can do to make this reality better.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, with with morals,
yeah.
my own yeah.
I mean, morals is a very relative, objective thing, right? But I think that it's just like with religion. I would assign the simulation thing. If you're a good person, then you're not. I don't know.
I know. I don't mean to go too deep on it.
No. It's not that. It's just. It's with morality. If you're I don't know.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's so much possibility.
Yeah.
That is with all of that, and I like the idea that we have purpose rather than no purpose at all,
Okay.
which would be more of the side which you talked about, where you are in control even though you're within a simulation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then who knows? Maybe our purpose is outside of the simulation. Maybe we're in the simulation because we wanted to get away from our purpose, or, I mean, who knows? Who knows what happens when we wake up? If it's a simulation, you know what I mean? Like when this all ends. I mean, that's a whole nother can of worms, I suppose.
We could go old school Alex Jones in that
Yeah.
this is just a prison planet and our souls are sent here to be punished.
I haven't heard that.
I mean, he's
I know
more
some-
of a
I know some Alex
conspiratorial
Jones, yeah.
parapolitics guy, but that was an original thing that he used to push way back in the day.
Yeah, I know some stuff about him, but I don't know a ton. He's super entertaining. I think it's an atrocity that he got shut down by
Yeah, censorship
iTunes.
is-
Yeah, the censorship. I am super, super, super free speech. And to just
Yeah.
deny him of his speech
It's something
is,
we've talked about on our show often, about the fact that podcasts haven't been regulated yet, but it's probably coming.
yeah, you think so?
I don't see how they can keep it without having regulation in the future.
Why?
I think it's just an opportunity.
Who's going to regulate it? The government? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, this is all through.
And it's even down to, even if it's not that they censor any one podcast, even though they kind of did that with Alex Jones, he can still put it out on his private thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they're already doing that to a point. And I'm not talking about like government regulation. Companies
Oh yeah,
like
Facebook.
YouTube, and that's just, I think the next step
Patreon.
will be saying that there has to be some actual regulation, governmental something doing that.
Yeah, I hate that. I really hate that. I don't understand it. I don't understand what YouTube is doing right now with a lot of their censorship. And they've really ramped it up lately with
It's a tough thing
with
because-
COVID-19.
yeah.
They're saying a lot of things if you put on YouTube and
Mhm.
it doesn't agree with the World Health Organization,
Yeah.
they're going to just strike it and get rid of it.
It's a tough thing because they are a private business,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to say that they don't have the right to do that.
Right.
But then again, people don't have an outlet that they can build themselves to be at that point.
Yeah, which I don't understand. I don't understand how YouTube has the monopoly that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, there's nowhere else. Like, this podcast goes out on YouTube, and I wish not only do I wish, but I also don't know why there's not another platform like that where people can upload their content. You know,
Yeah, I
there's
guess-
Vimeo, I guess,
Yeah.
but is that really, like, I don't know why there's not another just thing where you upload stuff like you do YouTube, but it's just a different company. Like, why is it only YouTube?
I wonder, you think about back, like you learned in school and history, that monopolies always got broken up by the government because
Mhm.
there couldn't be a monopoly on, like, say there's an ammunition company that made all the ammunition.
Mhm.
They broke it up so that there was competition.
Right.
Can the same thing be said about social media? Is it a monopoly that needs to be broken up?
Well,
And then
social
who
media.
takes over that?
Yeah.
And then,
Oh, I don't think social media is a monopoly because you have Instagram, you have Facebook, Twitter. What's that right wing one? What's that right wing one that they have now? That's
I don't know.
yeah. There's another. It's not right wing.
I know
But
there's several, but the big ones are the big ones. Like,
yeah, but there's only
they
one
buy up
YouTube,
the little ones too. Yeah, that's true.
and I just
Well,
don't
there
understand.
are other ones, but they're nowhere near. Like, there's conspiratorial. I can't remember the names of them. There's a few other ones, but they're nowhere near what YouTube is, of course.
Right, which is fine. I just wish there was something that would at least rival it.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
then YouTube will buy it and just integrate it into theirs.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you're right. It is a monopoly, and it sucks.
Mhm.
I wish there was more freedom out there.
I guess the base of it has to be internet freedom, but then you have to get people to come to your
Mm-hmm.
site. So
So with all the, I'm jumping all around here. But whatever. With all of the, I'm sure you do a lot of different research with paranormal activity and such. Do you get deep into like the Egyptian type stuff, like stuff with the pyramids and the hieroglyphs and kind of that whole scene? Like a lot of people like to think aliens
yeah,
helped. Like, I don't know. Do you
I know a
research
lot-
that or look into that at all, or is that too?
I can't say that I've spent any good amount of time researching. I'm the type of person that I read something once, I catalog it in my head, and then at some point it can pop out again. So I have lots of random facts about Egyptian things in my head, but I have to be in the moment for it to pop back up again. I can't say that I've sat there and really dug into Egyptian stuff. I think that
or any kind of ancient
Yeah.
culture like that.
I think it's very interesting that ancient cultures that on different sides of the planet that weren't supposed to ever have connections between each other all have the same base kind of gods, some of the same technology, some of the same knowledge about our planetary system,
Right.
that they wouldn't have been able to observe from the ground. And they're all over the world, and they kind of, even though they had different names for things and different practices in some cases, they all kind of tie back to the same story. Even the Bible ties back a lot of their main stories within the Bible. If you want to believe it or not, those lines all come from ancient stories,
Mm-hmm.
and they're
correct.
kind of all the same thing. That's a big generalization. I know there's
Mhm.
differences, but they all have the same threads, they seem like. So there had to be either they all came from the same place and the stories originated there and went out, or there was some kind of contact between the two, whether it was facilitated by some kind of technology that we don't have now, which could bring in aliens. There's all kinds of ancient stories that, when you read them in a certain way, read as aliens.
Yeah.
And even rides in UFOs and stuff like that.
Jesus was probably an alien, huh?
Could be. I mean, why couldn't he be?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you are a Christian and believe in the Bible, I mean, it still would seem that it's okay to believe that he was an alien because he was from another, maybe not necessarily alien, but interdimensional traveling being, perhaps.
Well,
I mean,
even,
even if you
like-
believe in the Bible, you believe in interdimensional traveling. If you go to heaven or hell, that's another dimension that you're crossing over to
Yeah.
once you pass. I
Even
suppose.
like the Vatican has a huge astronomy department.
Oh, that's right. They have
And
a telescope
they
called
talk
Lucifer,
about,
right?
They do, even though they don't necessarily flat out say they believe in aliens, it's in their subtext in a lot of their I've drawn a blank of, there's a certain group within the Vatican that
Oh, really?
has talked about extensively about alien life and
Wow.
things like that I've read about. And it's hard to believe anything you see on the internet these days, of course, but
right.
there's a lot of talk about that I've seen that are supposed quotes from people within the Vatican talking about when aliens arrive
Oh, wow.
and that they're planning for it and they know that it's going to happen.
Really?
Yeah.
That I didn't know. I know there was somewhere in Ezekiel, right? That they had. There's like
the
a
book of Ezekiel is full of flying objects in the
yeah.
sky.
There's like a
Yeah.
UFO in the
Mhm.
book of one of these
Fiery
Ezekiels, yeah.
chariots
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
It's like a spinning something
yeah,
or
there's
other.
that too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I like. Do you? I know whatever. Same answer, but you might give me a different answer with this. But do you believe in aliens? And I'm not saying do you believe that they've come here or been in spaceships, or do you believe in life on other planets?
I think that it's what's the right word? I'm looking for the right word. I think that it's more likely that there is than there isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it would be shocking if there wasn't.
Right.
I don't see how that's how it would be possible that there isn't.
Right. It's
Why if space is how we perceive it and it's really that expansive, it can't just be us.
Nope. I don't think so either. I did hear the only I guess maybe the most credit. I don't know what the word is. I'm dumb. But I did hear a pastor say one time that we are the only ones because God was proving how great we are, that there's absolutely nothing else, and how
Then
special
why
and
make
great
the
we
rest
are.
of it?
Because he can. Why does anybody do anything? But yeah, you're right.
Space, as science says it is so massive. It would take more than our lifetime to go to the next star, and with the technology we know,
Mm-hmm.
what would be the point of having it out there?
Yeah. I don't know, Little Dicky. He's a rapper. Don't know if you're familiar with him.
No.
But in one of his songs, he says, maybe this was just a side project for the guy. Why can't there be aliens out there? Maybe this was just some, we had dinosaurs. He got rid of them. And just, here's another side project. Maybe he's got these little projects all over the place.
Yeah.
He's just some.
It's like a playground.
Yeah, just some kid, creating shit all
Yeah.
over his playground. Then you got the multiverse. Yeah. God, we haven't even touched on. I gotta pee. Do you have to go anywhere? Do you want to stop or you want to keep
I don't
going?
have to go anywhere. I think we have about an hour left before we have to
Okay.
go.
Can we stop and use the restroom because I'm
It's
a
your
horrible
show.
podcast host and I have to do this every time. I have to
That's
stop
fine.
and pee.
That's fine with me.
Good. Charlie, you know what to do. And we're back. Let's we haven't even really touched on your podcast, but we will. But before that, let's talk about Big Rip Brewing Company.
Big Rip Brewing Company.
You've got a sponsor.
I do.
A
I
beer
have a
sponsor.
beer sponsor.
Do you know how bad I want a beer sponsor?
Have you asked any?
I haven't asked anybody to
No.
sponsor me at all in any shape or form. No, I have.
That's all it took for
I'm
me.
very insecure.
Yeah.
I should fix that light back there. Whatever, fuck it.
They started sponsoring the events, and then eventually I talked them into also. They would give me a gift card for beer
Nice.
to drink on the podcast. So
So Big Rip Brewing Company is in North Kansas City.
yes,
Small little brewing company, a dope little spot, makes great beer. I mean, what can you say about them? I mean, that's crazy that they,
I've had a wonderful relationship with them over
Man.
the last 4 years, and they do an event every year that's a lot of fun. It's their Brew Fest. It's all the breweries in town almost, and a couple distilleries, and I don't know if it's going to happen this year because it's supposed to be in June, but it's a few bucks. You get a glass. You get to go around and drink all afternoon.
they make good beer.
They have a tap room in North KC, and I've never had a bad beer from them. And honestly, saying that not just because they sponsor me.
They got a little room back there you can do.
They have a tap room, and they have an event space in the back too.
Outdoors or indoors?
Both actually. They have an outdoor
Speakers and
patio.
everything set up to do.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
They at one point were gonna work with, I think it was Alamo Draft House, and put in a video screen in the back room.
Oh, cool.
But I don't know if that's still in the plans. But yeah, so they have a barbecue joint next door that you can order, and they'll bring the
I've
barbecue
done that.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a food truck. Now it's a place next door.
Well, they do the food trucks from time to time too, but there's actually a barbecue place attached,
okay.
so you can just order and they'll bring it over
okay.
to you.
Yeah, there's a couple spots down there. I'll have to maybe reach out, at least think about that. I do want to do another event, and I have a guest.
I'll do one with you.
Okay. I do have a guest in mind, Crystal Lampant, if anybody knows her. She used to have a morning show on one of the local 41. Oh, wait, the spot. Who's the spot? Local 41? 62?
38. Right?
38?
I-
38. She had some good, she's been on local TV. So I thought about doing an event with her. I think she would do it. And if nobody shows up, that's fine, because she is a dimey dime, and I would not mind sitting across from her talking to her. I met her. Anyways. Let me take a sip of this Big Rip Irish Ale.
Yeah, the anti-grabber.
Anti-grabber. Yeah, so you said all their beers are named after horror flicks?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't know exactly what anti-grabber is a reference to. As weird as it might be being in the paranormal field, I'm not a huge horror fan. I like classic horror. Like, I like all the slasher films from the 80s and whatnot. And I like Stephen King films. And I do like a few horror films, but it has to have like a psychological bent to it for me personally.
Yeah, I'm not into that shit either.
I'm not into blood and guts, kind of just shock horror. I don't really.
I
like
did.
that stuff.
I mean, Jason and Friday the 13th. Yeah.
I can't say that that's psychological horror, but to me that's classic horror and kind of campy and fun to watch.
Yeah,
around
those
Halloween
are fun.
time.
But yeah, but I never did. Yeah, I'm the same way. I can't get into horror. Like, they don't scare me.
Yeah.
That's the point of them, right? They're supposed to be scary, but they just.
Yeah. I'm not a
doesn't
big
scare me.
blood guts guy. Oh, the thing that comes out. Larry says anti-grabber is the thing that comes out of Alien's mouth in the Aliens movie.
I was thinking the closest I was going to come up with was Tremors.
That's what I was thinking too. Actually, this is something that. Kills
But those were the graboids.
The graboids, yeah.
Oh, what a great movie! Oh, Tremors is a classic. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's a horror flick, but that's a good movie. There was one horror flick that I thought was good that I liked. Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
It was good
Yeah.
for that style, but yeah, I'm not into
Yeah.
that style. I'm more of a psychological fan myself. But Big Rip, you make a good beer, and thanks for sponsoring Jason over here. What is your podcast called?
It's called the Ectoplasm Show.
The Ectoplasm Show.
Yeah, if you search it online or we're on any of the platforms. It's actually Slimer as our logo.
What's Slammer?
Slimer.
Oh, Slimer. Yeah. I was going to say it had to be a Ghostbusters.
So yeah, it's a pink background with the green Slimer on there. Says the Ectoplasm Show. That's our show.
And you've been doing that for a while.
Yeah, I think it's the first year. We're on almost 350. I think I've been going for 4 years, and it was going for 6 months before I got on it.
Yeah. See, that's why I'm not like super braggadocious about episode 100. Whatever, it's only 100. There's
It's
people
a
like you
big
that's got 350.
It's
know?
a big thing to get to 100. Most
I guess.
don't.
Yeah.
Some, it depends. And it also, you do one a week, which
Right.
is a lot. Shows that do more than one a week, like we've done in the past, get there a lot faster, and it's a lot easier to do that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
100's a big number, and you should be proud of it. Anybody that sticks with anything more than a few months, because I don't know what it was like for you in the beginning, but if you don't see those numbers ticking up really fast, you get demoralized. And why do I keep doing this when it shouldn't really be about the numbers?
Right.
You want that, of course. If nobody's listening to you, what's the point? But I'd say you should definitely be proud.
All
of
right. Well,
100.
thanks. It's cool. Thanks, Charlie. Well, I'm proud. I did 100. This will be 101. So we'll label this Paranormal 101, the class. So it's called Ectoplasm podcast.
Ectoplasm Show.
And
yes.
you guys talk about all paranormal stuff, basically,
Yes,
or what?
we do different topics from time to time. We also do episodes where we're just reading current events that have a paranormal bent. Sometimes we throw in conspiracy episodes.
That's right. We haven't talked any conspiracies.
Yeah, conspiracies.
Now, when you are talking conspiracy type stuff, like you said, you have conspiracy stuff at the Paracon.
There's a few people
few?
that are interested in that. We've never had
Okay.
a full-on presenter,
Okay.
and it's not that they. I've thought about putting on a separate event of just conspiracies. It's not that they don't mix. It's that I don't know if, as much as I find them interesting,
Maybe not enough
there's
crossover.
It's not that. I don't want to alienate people, but I don't really care that much. There is a large group of conspiracy theorists that are just nuts. They're just crazy.
Yeah.
They get in your face, they smell really bad, and they don't leave you alone. And as much as I don't want to judge those people,
Okay.
because I am interested in all the stuff that they're talking about, but they are full-on hardcore belief in everything, and it's hard.
Okay.
And it turns off a lot of people. And I don't.
Okay.
I'm afraid to bring that full-on element into my event.
That makes yeah. You're smart. Why do that? Why
Yeah.
why fix what's not broken? Like, yeah, you've got a good thing going. Why bring in a whole other subset that could really throw a monkey wrench into the whole situation?
And they are not that people in the paranormal field aren't passionate, but they're super passionate, like to the point of if you don't listen to them in the right way, they get offended. And I don't want that. I don't want that atmosphere.
Yeah, a lot of animosity and negativity could be involved
Yeah.
with that for sure. However, I do like. It's hard for me again with a lot of this stuff. It's hard for me to really believe fully in a lot of stuff, but there are some really good conspiracies that I like.
Yeah.
I like a good conspiracy theory. And
Well,
there are
what,
some.
What are your favorites?
I mean, gosh, if we've been to the moon or not,
Yeah.
I don't know that we've been. I don't know.
I
don't
don't know if
think
we
that we've
have
been.
either.
I don't think that we've been.
I don't know if Larry feels like telling a story on the air. They don't know your last name, Larry.
You're more than welcome to come over there and get on his mic real quick. Yeah.
I'm going to mention it regardless. So
Can you
it'd
speak
be better
for,
coming from you?
Larry?
Well, you can tell it so much better. His dad walked in on the moon stage set once.
Holy shit. Now that is known that they did do some staging. That they
This
did
was
some
for a major aircraft company in Kansas. Well, the company is in Kansas too. So I thought that
Boeing.
you said this took place in Kansas, but
It was on the East Coast. Okay. Huh.
and that was when? What year?
In the 1980s, so it was well after.
It wouldn't have been like the original ones, but it would have
Right.
been the later ones.
What
And
would
so
have been a
this-
point?
What
what would-
Larry told me, since he's not going to come on,
All right.
is he worked for this major aerospace corporation.
his dad did.
Yes.
Boeing.
He was in
We'll
the
say.
facility, I think it was Northrop. I thought you said Northrop Grumman. This is why I wanted you to tell the story, because it's been a while. But anyways, he walked into this area of the building that was set up exactly like the moon. They even had like machines and stuff that was supposed to be on the moon. These people ushered him out and told him he was not allowed to tell anybody about what he saw.
Huh, that's it?
That's it, but that's more than...
No, I mean, okay.
And for a lot, and no, he's never told anybody but Larry, and Larry's the one that let it slip.
Huh. What would be the point of that? Why? I mean, couldn't there be an explanation for that? Like, was there a movie? What was it? A real movie? Like,
could
was
be,
it,
but it wasn't like
or a commercial
the-
or something? Or
I don't.
yeah,
know.
there's a lot of questions that need to be asked.
It's
Is your dad still around? Can I get him on the podcast and talk about it?
I don't think he would appreciate that because he was in the military.
He was, but he's not now. Look, my dad was retired right before he became general. He was
He won't even tell me stuff he did.
really.
Like, I know he was in Vietnam, but that's
I need to get my dad. I've thought about asking my dad what he can, because he's got. He was the wing commander, which means you're like basically the head of a certain base. He was the head of a base in North Dakota, which is where all of our nuclear stockpile is. He said if North Dakota, that base, was a country, it would be like the third largest nuclear power in the world.
Wow.
So he was in charge of that.
You know, there's
He
a
knows some
conspiracy
shit.
that went around for a little while that was stated that North Dakota was not a real state.
What?
That it was just a place on the map that wasn't real. I never understood. I never really dug into it, and it
makes no
obviously didn't. But there was a group of people that believed that. So everything could be.
Well,
conspiracy.
birds don't exist.
But they could be robot pigeons for the government.
Right. That's why
monitoring
Corona's
us.
going down. Everyone's in lockdown so they can change out the batteries in these pigeons.
As far as the moon goes, I think that the motivation for us to get there could have absolutely caused them to
Fake it.
fake it.
Yeah.
Whether we've been back or not since then, I think they had a high, need to get there first. So they
Right.
would have had the motivation to do so. And the fact that they say, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, to say that we've lost the technology to go to the moon and we need to recreate it and we can't go to the moon.
Wait, that's an excuse that we lost the technology?
NASA says themselves that they're starting to work on it again, but at one point over the last decade, I've seen it several times where they state that they don't have they no longer have the technology to go to the moon.
That's the worst excuse I've ever heard. Why? Because we don't have any Nazi NASA scientists over there anymore?
I don't know, but it's definitely, this is official stuff from NASA. And it may have just been more speculation rather than practice, but it's definitely been mentioned by NASA.
That's a horrible excuse. How can we land a rover on Mars, but we can't land on the moon?
It's more about the life support system for the astronaut, I believe.
Huh.
I don't know, but I've
I-
definitely
yeah.
seen those statements come out of NASA, and it's not.
You got to be careful if
necessarily-
it comes out of NASA, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
yeah. I mean, if they're behind this whole, this whole lie of that we've been there. I don't know. Who was the first man on the moon? Neil Armstrong?
Neil Armstrong.
You look at that dude. Look at him in the eyes. That guy doesn't have the face of a dude that's been on the moon.
He punches anybody that questions him personally.
Of course he does.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
It's also, and I don't know if you've seen it. I've seen it thousands of times because I'm in the field. But there's a meme about Neil Armstrong that his name and the first letter of his last name backwards is alien.
I've never seen that or
No?
heard that. That's beautiful.
It's been passed
Wow.
around a lot, but it's alien.
Right, I know. I see it in my head right
Yeah.
now, and I can't even spell.
And technically, if he did go to the moon, he was the first alien on the moon because he wasn't from the moon.
Sure.
Yeah.
He doesn't. That guy doesn't look like he's been on the moon.
I don't know. But I do know that he was recently in the last, 5 years, he was in Antarctica and started tweeting out weird things, and that got shut down fast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, something about a pyramid and something else in Antarctica that wasn't supposed to be there. I don't remember the details.
now we're
It's just
talking flat
popping
Earth.
yeah.
There's no way that dude believes in flat Earth. I mean, if he's been to the moon, right?
Well, it depends on what he believes in and what he puts himself out there to be.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff with Antarctica too. There's been a lot of
Is
high-profile celebrities and other people that aren't scientists
about
going
Antarctica?
to Antarctica in the past few years for whatever reason.
It has to be flat Earth related, right?
That's
what I would assume.
Fuels all that for sure.
Right.
Maybe they just want to experience it. I mean, technically, if you have the money, you're supposed to be able to travel to Antarctica. It's not
Mhm.
owned by any country. So I can say that I would like to visit it sometime.
Yeah.
Why not?
I
So it
don't
could
know.
definitely be that. Why wouldn't they want to if they had the money to do so? But there's the whole, was it Admiral Byrd from the 30s or 40s, wasn't it? That he claimed that he came across a race of people that were from the inner Earth when he first flew into Antarctica.
Okay. I don't know that one.
No? You're putting me, I'm putting myself on the spot, but he is an admiral, and he flew a mission into Antarctica, and when he came back, he was talking about how he actually flew into the center of the Earth and met this whole race of other beings there, and then he returned.
I don't like it.
And then that's the reason why Antarctica is the way it is now.
Which is?
That it's not owned by any government, and really we only send scientists there, and we protect it.
Huh. I've never thought a whole lot about it. About Antarctica or... Yeah, I just assumed it was just a desolate ice sheet. Like, not any real reason to go there unless you're a scientist maybe collecting ice core samples or something,
Or
perhaps.
trying to hide from something.
Who? Scientists?
Like Nazis running away in World War II.
No,
That's
they went to
definitely a theory,
Argentina.
too. Well, yeah, but that's Argentina's the jumping off point.
Yeah, but when I mean, you can go to Argentina now, and there are towns that are basically Germany.
No, that's true.
I mean, they speak
There's
German.
a colony down there.
Yeah, I mean, you can go into some of these people's houses, and they have photos of Nazis on their wall, and they're like, "Oh, that's Grandpa
Mm-hmm.
so and so. He was a Nazi, and I'm proud of it, and we love that he was." Like, that's going on right like today.
Well, to be fair, my family has a photo of my grandfather on the wall. He happened to be in the German army, but we don't celebrate it because
Well,
of
it's
that.
celebrated down there.
No, yeah, I get that.
Yeah. I mean, that would be interesting, I guess. Yeah, if Grandpa Hans was a Nazi, I guess. I don't know. I guess that's something to recognize. Maybe not celebrate. I mean, that's a whole nother.
Well, I mean, as far as Project Paperclip goes, and
Right, there we go.
You know,
Paperclip. Project Paperclip, by the way, was for those of you that don't know, was basically getting the Nazis from Germany over to our NASA program.
so if that was the case, of course, if we were getting a lot out of that, if the Nazis wanted to have a little town in Argentina, they probably just let them do that.
oh, why not? We let
Yeah.
them run our space program.
Mm-hmm.
We let them get us to the moon. I mean, Franz Hopper
Yeah.
would have been today charged with crimes against humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was.
And that's what the Americans got. Imagine whatever the Nazis cooked up for the Russians. Because
Oh,
they
did-
got a whole group of them, too. And they actually got the first group of them because they were there first.
I didn't know that. I never looked into.
Yeah, it was
it
actually
makes
split
sense.
up between the two superpowers. So we got a group of scientists and they got a group of scientists. Who knows what the scientists that went to Russia actually cooked up in their lab? It could be like Stranger Things kind of things.
Never seen it.
You've never seen it? Well, it's basically your little interdimensional portal opened up in a basement of some federal government building.
I would believe that if Russia was a successful country.
That's true, but maybe they sunk all their money into it, and then it just ended up killing a bunch of their soldiers.
Yeah, but then that's unsuccessful.
No, definitely unsuccessful, but that doesn't mean that the technology wasn't created. And
Sure.
still
I mean, they do
possibly
have
there.
great. I mean, we've been hitching rides with Russia for a very long time to outer space. We haven't been successful. I mean, now we're starting to get there with Elon Musk and
Yeah.
SpaceX and stuff like that, which is pretty dope.
Have you seen the Starlink satellites go over yet? I've been wanting to go out and try to catch them, but I haven't.
No, I don't even know what you're talking about.
So it's a series of satellites. I think there's a good dozen or 2 dozen that they're all evenly spaced, and they're going around the planet now. And he wants to get hundreds of them up there. So when like the sun's setting and when it just gets over the horizon, you can see a whole line of like 24 plus satellites go by. And we talked already about how UFO sightings have been up. I've actually been going out trying to spot those as well as UFOs recently. Haven't yet, but
I haven't seen
there's
them
plenty
yet.
of video of them.
Yeah.
You can see them on those apps that track things in the sky.
The problem with video this day and age is there's so much stuff that's easy to fake with technology that's now able to get on. I can get stuff on my computer right now and I can make a good enough video that might make you think.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like
and that's why you got to question everything online.
Yeah, exactly. It's really hard. Yeah. I mean, yeah, but I love that kind of stuff. Yeah. What other conspiracies? I don't know. I'm into a lot of 9/11. I'm into that. You know, when my mom was visiting recently, I was kind of getting her into some of these Tower 7 type stuff. And
9/11's really touchy because even if some science is there, so many people died that there's always going to be that element that looks at you in a bad way because of the death that happened.
Okay.
Because you're talking about that it may not be what the official story is. I'm actually dealing with a little bit of that with the Ectoplasm show, just a little bit, not a lot, but you know, when we do our episodes where we're talking about current events, how could we not talk about COVID? And we've talked about all the different ideas behind conspiracies behind COVID. And we don't necessarily put it out there we believe any of this stuff, but we talk about it and we discuss it, and we have a general mistrust of government powers to begin with our show.
As anybody should, right?
But we've gotten some blowback, even from people that I know have been hardcore conspiracy theorists. They don't want us talk. They don't want to hear it. It's almost like because it's happening to them now, they're too afraid. And they don't want us talking about it because it spreads fear. That's the direct feedback that I've gotten, and only from a few people.
Okay.
That's only the people that reached out to me. It's like
right
because
that's a percentage
it's happening
of people
right
that actually
now,
think it, right?
Because it's happening right now, and they are afraid, and they don't know what to do. When there's a source talking about something different than what, even if you take the government connotation out of it, the people that are supposed to tell us what to do in these situations are telling us to do something, and then our show comes along and says, well, they're not right. There's possibility that they're not right.
Okay.
We're not telling you this is how it is, but this is what people have come up with and have some little bit of proof or evidence, possibly, that it's not right, that we're making them question what they feel is protecting them.
What kind of conspiracies are you guys talking about, or that are out there that you are giving credence to surrounding COVID?
Well, even at the base of conspiracy for COVID is that they're inflating the death numbers.
They are doing that 100%. That's not a conspiracy. That's being.
It's not a conspiracy, but technically it is, because it's against what the reported numbers are.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think a lot of that.
I mean, it's in the mainstream that they're just reporting all these deaths as COVID when they're not.
Right.
But it's also it's also questioning the thought that person died of COVID or not. So it is a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
I mean, down to even that it's not even a real thing, that it's a psyop, just to see how quickly we can control the population.
Oh, pretty fucking quick.
Yeah, it was super fast. I mean, it was in our show, we've actually been following COVID since beginning of December.
Oh wow, okay.
So
I've
we
been
started
following it.
talking
Yeah, I've been
about it.
following it since about January.
Yeah.
I thought I was
We
early.
started talking about it on our show when it was just a small little virus popping up in China. And
yeah.
I actually listened to a few other shows that knew people in China, and they talked about it, so that's why we were talking about it. But it wasn't anywhere where anybody was really
Oh, it
paying
took
attention
it. We
to
were
it.
late to the party. It took
Yeah.
a while for a lot of people to get awoken to
But then it
COVID.
happened really fast. I remember mid-March, like beginning of March, sitting there. Within a week, every major
Mhm.
sports shut down.
Yep,
Within a couple days.
that was huge.
That almost seems like it was planned. Like, I know that maybe one domino falls and the rest fall,
Right.
but those sports are major corporations, and their entire means
Billions of
product
dollars. Yeah.
was just shut off. But they all did it immediately. Like, it was almost they were told to do it.
I think they probably were.
They probably were, but they didn't put it out there as that. They decided out of their good nature that they needed to shut down. But it was all within a month that the country was just, everybody had to stay at home. Or not even a month, within a week, everybody had to stay home.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's, we live in a larger city, so it's not representative of like the outer counties
Right.
and stuff like that. But it was pretty telling how fast everything was shut down. And then if if you see somebody doing something they're not supposed to do, you're supposed to report it.
Oh, snitches.
If
yeah.
a business is doing business, you're supposed to report it.
Well, that was California's big thing, right?
Yeah.
It's Newsom.
Whether or not there's any conspiracy behind it, you can absolutely see that they can just do whatever they want, and everybody, for the most part, everybody will fall in line.
For a little bit, but you're starting to
Yeah.
see that backlash now.
There is a backlash.
I mean, it's America. We're supposed to be free.
If we're gonna keep on the conspiracy side, I can see those backlash, the protests being let happen, so that if a second wave comes through, they could be blamed for it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, they do need a scapegoat for sure. Yeah. It's an interesting one. It's crazy how quickly every shut down, but I do like seeing people start to rebel against it.
Mm-hmm.
I like saying, hey, it was so new, taking a conspiracy out of it. It was so new. We didn't know what to do. We were freaking out. Is this the Spanish flu all over again? Are we going to lose millions of people? And then now that we're getting more and more information of our own, because you can't trust anything that comes out of China.
No.
But now that we're getting
our beginning argument was, there's no way that there was even like it was a economic not corporation, but an economic think tank that studied trends that found that their number of death and infection followed an exact trend that was mathematically impossible. That those were just numbers that they were coming up with using a formula and putting out there. And there's no reason to believe that China would tell the truth about the number of people that died or were infected within the country.
You can't trust a thing that comes out of them.
But but as far as our powers that be, whoever that might be or whatever, they were in a catch-22. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't react and it's really bad, then that looks even worse than overreacting.
Right.
But now at this point, I think it's kind of clear it definitely doesn't kill as many people as we thought it was.
Yeah, the
So
mortality
we have to
rate's less than
start
1%.
Getting back to, even if you don't necessarily believe in capitalism, our country can't survive like this.
Oh, no.
We have to get back to some sort of quote unquote normalcy, or
we got to open the economy back up. Yeah, I don't think we've even seen the repercussions of this yet.
Oh, no.
Like, I think in another 3 or 4 months, we're going to see the ramifications that the shutdown really had when we lose, I don't know. I think I've heard maybe up to like 35% of businesses are going to just disappear now. Like they're not going to be able to reopen. Like this is going to, we haven't seen it yet. And now it's turned very political. You got, the right and the left just yelling at each other. And the left thinks if you want to open things, you're murderers. And if you're on the right and you don't wear a mask, I don't know. It's just.
There's definitely a big group within what could be called conspiracy theorists that believe that this was definitely used, even if it wasn't created, it was definitely used to shut down small business to prop up big corporations because they're the only ones that are open.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a good
Amazon's
possibility
balling
that
out of control.
that Bezos is going to be the first trillionaire in the world because of everything. So,
yeah, I mean, maybe I think we got trillionaires out there. I mean, you
probably.
look at oil, the oil Saudi, Saudi
Maybe
princes.
it's in the United States that I saw. I definitely saw an article about him becoming a trillionaire and how it was because of COVID.
I can see that. I mean, and then you see Bill Gates. I'm sure I don't know, but I imagine there's plenty of conspiracies out there surrounding him and him wanting to get a vaccine for this.
There's definitely conspiracies about him and his vaccines. There's conspiracies about 5G causing this.
Now that's a dumb one.
Yeah, but they're definitely all out there, and everybody. I'm actually in a ton of social media groups that are based on conspiracy theories, and
I bet
would
you
say
are.
90% of them, they're all going crazy right now, and not necessarily because they don't have reason to. They just blow it way out of proportion.
Mm-hmm.
There is a big problem with perception in the conspiracy field. There's a big difference between being interested in it, researching it, and believing in the possibility, and believing that, like Alex Jones says, this chemical is turning the frogs gay.
Right. Yeah.
And it's hard to separate ourselves from that. We try to be as open and honest and rational when we talk about it as possible, but it's really hard sometimes to wonder how we're being viewed when we talk about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're gonna get viewed like a nut.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe, yeah, it's crazy. But like I said, I like a good conspiracy. They're all over, and I like a lot of the conspiracies that we've known have come true or that are true. Like the Gulf of Tonkin. Like Project Climax, just like what was the Kennedy with the Cuban missile or the Cuban plane that got shot down. What was that one? Northwoods.
Project Northwoods.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, there's all those ones that we know that are true.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine ones we don't know.
At the base of it, our government are people just like us, and they do not let any good crisis go to waste or any good opportunity go to waste.
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course. They're going to be looking out for themselves. Even if you get to that point, in my personal opinion, if you get to that point of power within politics, you aren't necessarily 100% doing it because you care about the people you're serving.
Oh, yeah, I don't like politicians. I believe they're all corrupt. And it's just the higher they get, the more money and the more power they get, the worse it gets. I mean, power corrupts absolutely, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, or whatever the fuck that saying is.
There's also it's hard for me with conspiracies personally because there's the same people that may be running a lot of these conspiracies are also the people that can't get even like the post office right. So it's hard. Like there's really ineptitude in the government, and there's the possibility that there's people in power that are colluding to just better things for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably, I'm sure it's somewhere in the middle, but to think that they just care about us and they're doing everything for the people.
Oh, yeah.
In my
That's
mind
certainly,
is
I don't believe in public servants. I don't believe they're doing anything for us. I don't trust any politicians. And that's why I try not to interact on Facebook. It's just because it just gets too political. You get these guys that love Obama. You get these guys that love Trump. And none of them realize that they're both corrupt and criminal.
Well, yeah, because what I tell people mostly, what my point is mostly with it, and I generally believe it, is that the people that have the real power, they don't bother themselves with elections or term limits. They have their money, and that's their influence. And they don't have to be elected into anything to use that influence.
Oh, yeah. I mean, The United States is not a republic, and it's not a not a democratic society. It's an oligarchy.
Mhm.
I believe that 100%. Jason, this was amazing. This is one of my favorite podcasts I've done.
Well, thanks for having me on, and thanks for not calling me too crazy.
Why would I do that? I'm probably
I was-
crazier than you.
I was talking about while
I've done
you were-
DMT.
Yeah, I was talking about while you were taking a piss break that I never know how crazy I sound when I'm talking about this stuff because
Yeah.
it's not that I worry about it too much, but I want to try to play to the audience I'm speaking to, and I don't want to come off as super crazy because then they're not going to really listen to me about anything. So
Well, I think we agreed on a whole lot of stuff. I think we're in the same boat on this crazy sea.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, man. This was awesome. I want to do this again, man.
I can absolutely do this again.
Yeah?
I can talk about this stuff. I mean, I made 350 episodes out of it, and I can keep going.
Good.
So
Yeah, well, next time, well, let's do it again. I'll open the floor up here. Say whatever you want. Pimp whatever you want. Tell about the podcast, the Paracon, how people can get tickets.
sure.
Whatever you want, man.
All right, well, the website is kcparacon.net. One of the assholes we talked about earlier has kcparacon.com, and they won't let it go.
What's this guy's
Actually, I think
name?
it's not the same person. It's somebody else. I think it's
Another
actually
asshole.
tied up in litigation
Okay.
for a different reason, but I can't have it. So don't go to kcparacon.com.
Don't
because
do
it's
it.
Not mine.
Don't do
It
it.
actually says
You will
on
be
there.
shot if you
Yeah.
go there.
Actually says on there at the bottom that it's not associated with me, but
Well, that's cool.
they use it for their own purposes, and it's whatever. So go to kcparacon.net, and you can find all of the speakers we've announced, which is most of them, all of the vendors we've announced, which is all of them that have booked so far. All of the schedule will be up there soon. You can buy tickets now. We just announced our VIP tickets over the weekend, and we have investigations with it. You can buy a ticket to investigate at places like the Vale Mansion, which is here in Independence, and the Harris Kearney House, which he runs the investigations for. And those go fast. Actually, one of them already sold out. The Vale Mansion investigations already sold out.
Well, what'd
So-
you mention it for? Start over.
Well, I want them to know. So there will be, and this is the first I'm mentioning it anywhere.
Oh, a Neander Talk exclusive.
I put out there that I'm going to do an ultimate VIP package, and there's only going to be 2 of them.
Oh, my.
But I haven't announced what's going to be in that ultimate VIP package. I could say that one of those options is you can pick any investigation you want to do, or all of them, including the ones that are already sold out.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, people still have an opportunity to get that once we release those 2 VIP.
What's an investigation? That's where you go out.
Yes, it'll
Okay.
it'll be a group of people that go with investigators and investigate a place, kind of like a guided. So it could be one of our base ones, which is the cheaper one, which will be actually of the venue because the venue is supposedly haunted. It's just kind of like somebody that's never experienced it before and wants to go see kind of the gadgets we use and some of the tactics we use. They don't want to take it too seriously. They can go do that one. Or they could go to the one with Larry where you actually break up into groups and you do an investigation like we would go out and do an investigation. So we have those available.
Wow.
We have the Dean Haglund Comedy Hour show, which is going to be a lot of fun.
That's cool.
And we're trying to get some celebrity cars out there, like a Ghostbusters mobile.
Oh,
and
shit.
a bunch of other stuff. There's a guy in town that has, but he actually wants a lot of money for them to be there.
Really?
Dig. Yeah, we have cosplayers. We have Ghostbusters cosplayers. I'm working on getting other cosplayers to come out and do different things and run around. Last year we had a guy in a Yeti costume. The venue we had last year was right next to like a halfway house, and then there was a park that had some homeless people in it, which they didn't bother us or anything, but
Right.
he actually went and ran around that park in the Yeti costume and freaked a bunch of people out. And then he got hit by a car, actually. But yeah, so we take it serious, but
Wow.
we don't take. We have a lot of fun, and it's a convention. So you come. It's $30 for the whole weekend, or you can just do single day tickets, which are cheaper, and you get to experience all of the vendors, all of the speakers, all of their presentations, and then the investigations are extra if you want to put that on there.
That's amazing.
We have food. We have alcohol. Big Rip gives away free beer every year.
Oh shit!
Yeah, you get a sample, which their sample is like half a beer sometimes.
Right.
So yeah.
Wow, it sounds awesome. So that's it, everybody. KCParacon.net. Get your tickets. Go check this out. When you take me on this investigation, what can I like? Is it? Am I just going with the three of you? What are we doing? Are we together? Do we separate? Like,
Well, I guess it depends. So it's not every time is different, right?
Okay.
So it depends on who's there and who's with us. So I guess I could say that you'll have fun and you'll have an experience. And,
all right.
And
I'm gonna hold you to this.
yeah.
A lot of people tell me they're gonna do
No.
things for me or with me.
I follow up.
Let's do it. I might have to wear a Ghostbusters
I was on another
outfit.
podcast a couple months ago before COVID shut everything down. I took them on an investigation that night.
Oh,
but
yeah?
I can't do that tonight, unfortunately.
That's
but I
fine.
will take you on one soon, and you'll have a good time. And we may, if you're up to it, we don't want to force it, but we may stick you in a dark corner by yourself and leave you there for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might be up for that.
Yeah.
All right. Jason, this was real.
Yeah.
This was awesome.
I had a great time.
Man, this was awesome, man. Fist bump?
Yeah.
Boom, Shalak, boom. I don't know. I got nothing else to say. This was awesome. Bye.